College football is back at Ford Field. It's a conference clash in Detroit. The SIAC is in the D. It's Central State and Kentucky State in the Detroit Football Classic. We say welcome back to college football. We welcome you inside our broadcast booth at Ford Field. He's Eric Pate. Charlotte Turbrack's on our sidelines. I'm Russ Eisenstein. Not only is this the opener, this is a conference opener. And we take a look at the preseason polls. Both teams feel they could be better than where they're predicted. Central State picked last of 13. Kentucky State picked 10th.
Yeah, and I think the preseason polls can be a little bit deceiving because Kentucky State ended the 2024 season pretty hot. Conversely, Central State University had a rough year, 1-9. I think this is a clear opportunity for them to prove the doubters wrong and get a win against one of their chief rivals.
When we're talking about program building, it takes a couple of years, and we have a bit of a difference there too. Felton Huggins, third-year head coach for the Thoroughbreds, for the Marauders. Tony Carter, this is game number 1.
That's right, and let's start with Central State. Tony Carter, you want to change that 1-9. You have to get started, but it's very difficult when you're a new head coach in a new place. The offense has to do its job. Huggins has an offense that can get going, and they really can start throwing this thing around the yard, which could be dangerous for the Marauders' defense.
Yeah, speaking of defense, 2 of the best in the SIAC are in this game today. Mike White for CSU. For KSU, it's Lawrence McConnell.
Yeah, Lawrence McConnell, defensive back, really good hands, and let's see what the Kentucky State secondary can do. Conversely, up front with White, they've got to put pressure on the Kentucky State quarterback if they're going to make things happen today and get this dub in the D.
The sheer fact that this game is on the schedule, that the Detroit Football Classic is back, that's a win for everybody. And for more on that, we say hello to Charlotte.
Thanks, Russ. After nearly 2 decades, the Detroit Football Classic is back to Ford Field. The Classic ran from 2003 to 2007, and Central State is set to take on Kentucky State to kick things off for the return. This weekend is not just about football, but it is also about HBCU pride, the battle of the bands, and so much more. Coming up here shortly, Central State, Kentucky State, Ford Field. What could you want more? Coming up shortly.
This, my friends, is the speed we've come to expect from this team. Just look at the precision of that move, and it's out of here.
My time to shine. He took over. He got it. Splash. And that will put some gauze on it. Thought they were having a lot of fun, dishing it off to each other. The dunks were happening, just a good time.
All of the pageantry associated with college football with a classic and opening day. Everybody getting it right for game number 1 of what hopefully for both of these two ball clubs will be a tremendous season. You see the records there from last year. We touched on it in the open, Eric. These two programs feel they're on the right track. New head coach, third-year head coach. A lot of talent. The transfer portal changes everything. Rosters reworked. We weren't sure on starters all the way through because there's a tad bit of secrecy there as well. But we know that whoever they're putting on the field, there's some talent there on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, lots of talent, lots of speed, lots of strength. and a little bit of touch of dislike, because I found out some things, and I'll share it for the broadcast when we get started here, but they don't like each other.
It's one of the South's oldest rivalries when it comes to Central State being in Ohio and, of course, Kentucky State in the Commonwealth. But these two teams, because of proximity, have seen each other an awful lot. And we're going to get familiar with some of the new faces on both of these rosters because there was turnover. There's more of a veteran nature as you see the Thoroughbreds right now. And that's why, as you talked about, that 10th spot in the preseason poll, that seems a little bit low based on how they finished and based on how much KSU brings back.
Yeah, and talking to the athletic director at Kentucky State down in the end zone as we're pre-gaming, he talked about the fact that they ended strong. He talked about the fact that the guys are anxious to get going. He talked about the fact that this is a rivalry game. So the talk all ends in a few seconds here, and Central State, they have some stuff to prove, and this is a proud program. And Kentucky State folks down there, when I was talking to pregame, they're not buying that they're going to run over Central State because they know that a rivalry game can be very, very, very tense indeed.
The H in HBCU stands for historical,
yes,
right? And so rivalries are a big part of that. We'll talk about the numbers and the wins and losses associated with it, but you got to go back to the 1940s for the first one ever. And for any school in any sport to play with that much of a historical presence, that shows that these two teams know this one means a lot.
Let me just give you an idea. I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, very much a part of historically black colleges and universities. Kentucky State, Central State, and Tennessee State, which plays in the OVC now, my sister's alma mater. We call it the Bloody Triangle. Everybody at those schools know each other in Kappa Alpha Psi and all the other Divine Nine groups, as well as the other students, the other co-eds. Hey, those schools are so close in proximity. Folks travel back and forth. Kentucky State and Central State, nice, quick drive, and they're close enough to really, hey, bragging rights are important. These guys know the alums are listening and watching.
Alums are listening and watching. Maybe new fans are listening and watching. So we'll introduce you to these two schools, these two programs. There are national championships in their history. We'll talk about that. We'll tell you about these new players on the field, and we'll bring a little bit of Frankfort, Kentucky and Wilberforce, Ohio here to downtown Detroit. And it's just great that this game is back, and we heard from Charlotte talking about it being back. You've been at every one of them. It's got to be special for you to be back in this building, knowing that the Detroit Football Classic is back.
Yeah, I remember doing the radio broadcast for the first game in 2003. The mayor back then was none other than the Honorable Mayor Kwame M. Kilpatrick. He's a proud Florida A&M University alum, but 22 years to the day, August 30th, 2003, the Alabama State defeated FAMU 38-22, and Kwame wasn't happy. He wasn't very, very happy. He's a former player, of course, prior to Detroit Cass Tech, and our former mayor. And what a great idea. But wait a minute. You said Central State was in Wilberforce, Ohio. They're still saying that. It's Xenia, that little tiny dot in Ohio.
A squib kick, and we're underway. Enjoy the broadcast of the ball game, everyone, as the prep brings you the Detroit Football Classic, and Kentucky State will get their hooves on the football to start. And this is a veteran nature of this team. Yeah, they are picked 10th in the league, but Denham Johnson's a quarterback that had a good deal of success last year, and they feel that he can have an even better this year. He's a sophomore. He's from Humboldt, Texas. He had a shoulder injury in their final game, a win over Shorter. They won it by a number of possessions. That was after their win over Central State last year, and so Denham Johnson will start it off for Kentucky State at quarterback on a 1st and 10 at the 38. And you probably can imagine that Jalen Middleton, the running back there for Kentucky State, got about probably the most used play on opening day, play one.
That's right.
A short gain up the middle, maybe a gain to 3, 2nd down 7.
A drive, a dive play, and they opened up with trips left. Not a surprise there.
Johnson to pass, fires it over the middle, right on target for a 1st down for Kentucky State. Darius Cyprian, Jr. from Baton Rouge. That's the home state of Felton Huggins. He's a Louisiana native, and he mines that talent pool very well for a first down for KSU.
Cyprian with a nice route, a quick slant to get it matriculated, as they say.
Gain of 14, 1st and 10 at the Central State 42. Quick out and another first down for Kentucky State. Moving the ball pretty well. And a first down deep into Central State territory, gain of 17.
And see, that is exactly the thing that we're going to have to watch, Russ, is this hurry up that Kentucky State University is going to use. Central State's got to get its personnel together so that it can adjust on the fly.
Earl Gray on the reception for Kentucky State. Just outside of the red zone now on drive number 1 of the season for KSU. Out of the backfield, that's Jaden Hale. Can be shifty, but that's a nice job by Central State, marauding to the football, and it's maybe a gain of 1, but there's a swarm of gold and maroon there on the play.
And, you know, I saw a little gold glove or something go down there. I thought it was a flag. It was a flag.
Receiver never wants to be in that position. That's Gray, who had a catch already on this drive with the penalty. We'll tell you about 2024 in Kentucky State in graphic form, but most certainly, to borrow an old tried and true phrase, it was a tale of 2 seasons for them. They started 0-5. They were outscored 240 to 56 in those first 5 games, and then started to roll in the back half of their schedule. But well behind the sticks here. Johnson lasers it out. And a catch for John McCall, senior from New Orleans. And a gain of about, 5 on the play to the 30.
And the thing that you speak about, they were down in the game last year against Central State 14-0 and rallied to win 24-14. So it wasn't easy last year for the Thoroughbreds.
KSU had 366 yards of total offense in that game. Central State had 232. So the penalty kind of gums up the works a bit on a drive that was very successful to this point after the short opening kickoff. We'll see what Denham Johnson can do here on a handoff. Out to about the 25.
Nice run play, but as you said, the penalty slowed it down, and it slows you down and slows the drive down, and it kind of your pace kind of ceases. It's kind of like pressing the brake before you get to the stop sign.
Chad Elzy on the run, freshman from Bella Rose, Louisiana. Johnson on the pass, trying to fade to the corner. Central State covered that really well in the secondary. Coming on over the top, there was no real space for Johnson to drop that in, and it sets up a 4th down play. So, yeah, the hooves got stuck in the mud a bit. The penalties you talk about, and that brings us to a field goal try for KSU.
And thanks to the Central State defensive line and the pressure, that's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to make some stuff happen up front, rush the quarterback, and not let him get comfortable.
Right-footed kicker. This is Landon Grover, freshman from Palm Coast, Florida. Last year, 5 for 7 in field goal tries. He's got a good leg, and he just missed it. That had plenty of gas, but the accuracy just a bit off. And so a really good drive for Kentucky State. Bogs down, penalty a part of that. Couple of incomplete passes. And Central State will get their Marauder mitts on the ball for the first time in 2025.
And I'm going to tell you, this was attributed, the missed field goal and everything that happened after the penalty. They had a good pace, good countenance going. And all of a sudden you get bogged down with one penalty. That's why coaches don't like them.
So Central State, with a bit of secrecy as to who their quarterback was going to be, and to start it off, it looks to be Tyson Hill. They do have a transfer from Long Beach, California, and a junior college transfer, but Hill is the returning veteran starter for Central State, and it's a handoff. That is Jaden Bossy, who gets a gain of about 2.
And Tyson Hill, looking good, looking sharp in the warm-ups. You can't put a whole lot of stock in warm-ups, but good-looking kid down there on the field. Central State, they're going to try to run, get the running game established, then try to let Hill ding and dunk down the field.
Hill's a West Virginia State and Texas Southern transfer. Last year, 458 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. 54% accurate. Did run for a score as well. We expect to see multiple quarterbacks in the game today for Central State. Bossy just couldn't spin away. Nice job middle of that Kentucky State front. And it sets up a third down play.
Trench work, that's going to be important, particularly for Central State. If they're going to be successful today, they have to establish themselves itself at the line of scrimmage.
Third down for Central State. Last year, this was a ball club on third down conversion, 28%. Against the team, Kentucky State, that was so high in time of possession. They were second in the league at time of possession, Kentucky State. But the odd thing about that, they never converted a fourth down. They were 0 for 16 on fourth down last year, so really good on second and third downs.
Talking about Kentucky State.
That's right.
Wow.
Third down coming here for the Gold and Maroon on drive number 1 of their season. Blitz coming, dump down after it, and a good run after the catch for a first down for Central State. That was a check down route. Devontae Young, sophomore from Dayton, so right down the road, gets him to the 40 and a first down for the Marauders.
And Dayton has been good to Central State, and CSU folks are very familiar with it. And I tell you, Young really looked nice and shifty when he got the football. This is a good sign. Santonio Holmes is on the staff. We'll talk about him a little later for Central State.
Yeah, some good coaching lines there, some veteran football guys. And that's a tough snap. You might see that on day one, and just having to cover it up, that's a tough spot to be in for sure.
That's one of those things where you just sigh. You just can't believe it. And those type of mistakes are going to happen. Teams are susceptible to this. Here on this play, it's a major flub. I mean, quarterback is 6 feet, 6'1", and the ball goes sailing right over his head in that shotgun snap.
That is a tough spot for Isaac Howard, the center, and for the quarterback, Hill, a loss of 15 on the play. And so well behind the sticks on a 2nd and 36 for Central State. And predictably, draw play, trying to get a little something out of it, out to the 25-yard line. Not too bad on the run for Young. Dunbar High School in Dayton. And a third down and long here for the Marauders.
And as I looked at both rosters during the week in preparation, Central State University, they keep it pretty Midwest. You get some kids from down in Georgia, but it's Michigan. It's Ohio. It's Kentucky a little bit. And conversely, KSU goes way down south, Louisiana, Florida, etc.
Based on the home of their head coach. Of course, Tony Carter is from Florida. He's a Jacksonville native. Another high snap. Hill has that. Big rush coming. This is clean without penalty. And making something out of nothing there. All things considered, Hill did well just to get beyond the 40. And that's to the initial stick. And so both teams traded offensive possessions to start this one off. And Central State stuck in their own territory. Kentucky State moved it into Central State territory. 3-minute drive and a missed field goal. And that brings us to drive number 2 for KSU as we welcome you back to Ford Field in Detroit. As Kentucky State will have 1st and 10 at the 24. Play fake and a really nice ball to the near side sideline and close to a first down on play number 1 of the drive. And we'll see some new Kentucky State players in there eventually. But there's some guys in there that are veteran. John McCall, senior from New Orleans, on the catch, and a pickup of about 9.
And they're look right back at the hurry up. That's the way you do it. Get right back into what you're good at.
And a run for a first down across the 35. And a first down for KSU. They did this on drive 1. Jalen Middleton, the Houston, Texas native there. There were a number of first downs on that first drive. They just could not piece it all the way through for points. Midway through the first quarter, in this matchup of two longtime rivals. Option play in space, and space closes up. Central State there to blow it up behind the stick.
Really nice pursuit by Central State, and I think this is where Central State can try to get an advantage here. When they run the ball, hit the pursuit, don't allow this thing to go positive. You want to push them back and go negative.
Bishop Blakely on the stop. The finishing hit there on the run for Middleton. So 2nd down and 11 here for Kentucky State. The ball club last season that averaged 20 points per game. They gave up 34, but again, those numbers were skewed based on the first 5 weeks. Rolling right and plugged out of bounds. Central State did a really nice job of pursuit there on Denham Johnson. A gain of 2 on the play.
Really nice tackle on the play, and that was Davis, I believe, that Dominique Davis drove him right out of bounds, drove the ball carrier out, and when you're in space like that, you got to break down and push that guy all the way out of bounds.
And Davis is one of the leaders on this ball club. 3rd down and 8 at the 39. Central State last year gave up 27 points per game, scored just 10. That was last in the conference in points per game. And Felton Huggins wants to talk about it. Big 3rd down play coming up. It's the Detroit Football Classic. Thanks for joining us from Ford Field on the Prep.
Lowering the shoulder. Swing and a miss. McGinley scores!
And it's going to be a challenge for us. I mean, they're a really talented football team. I think everybody knows that.
4 wide receivers. Pressure. Steps up. Marshall wants to run again. Cuts down the middle of the field. All alone. Touchdown! Warriors! What a cut.
Back for the first time since 2007, the Detroit Football Classic. 3rd down play coming up for Kentucky State on drive number 2 for the Thoroughbreds at their own 39. Johnson back to pass. Lets her rip middle of the field. There's coverage there and a big stick. Wow. Knocked away. They really tried to go for the deep ball, and a nice job by Central State in coverage. That's Justin Harris, DB from Richmond. They want a flag. They didn't get the flag. Jaden Hale went begging. It's 4th down.
Yeah, let's be clear. The safety did his job, and that was not a flag. It was clean. It was all shoulder, and that's exactly what you want your safety to do when you're in cover 2, cover 3. That safety has to be right there for the assist.
So Landon Grover on to punt for Kentucky State. And it's not dissimilar to see the punter be the place kicker as well. Fair catch called for and granted. Those are always difficult ones on the fade back and tracking the ball, but Avante Burt did it nicely. And he's a polite young man. He hands it off to the official, and they'll spot it at the 20-yard line. We take a look at 2024, and here's what Central State did. Yeah, 1-9. It was a win over Savannah State, and that was the end of the Kevin Porter era in 3 seasons. 9-21 during his time there. There were a couple of the 3 seasons that were okay based on the win total, but it was a change in era, new administration in, insert Tony Carter, and it's trying to get things back right. Central State does have a proud history.
Yeah, and if you think about some of the names, Billy Joe, longtime coach at Central State University. You think about Big Hugh Douglas that played for the Philadelphia Eagles in the National Football League, a guy that the Lions passed on, by the way, the hometown team. Shout out to them. But Eric Williams, Dallas Cowboy. Last time that the Cowboys won Super Bowls, Eric Williams was the big tackle, big left tackle. So there's a lot of historic talent here at Central State University. 8-12 for Kevin Porter in his first 2 seasons. But all it takes these days is one bad one. And as you can see, there's not one. It doesn't seem like there's any kids that go freshman year all the way through. Hey, you spend 1 year at this school, another year at this other school. By the time you're a senior, you've spent 4 years at 4 different programs, 4 different schools. And the transfer portal affords that.
Part of what's a bit misleading about the 1-9 last year, remember they played 10 games, and the last game of the season was against Kentucky State. KSU did play a game after that in week number 11, but there was a 3-week stretch there where they had a 9-point loss to Miles, who eventually won the league, had a 5-point loss to Clark. They played in the league championship game, and they had a 3-point loss to Lane, and so they were close against the fire-breathing Dragons. So there was a time there where the season could have gone in a completely different and positive direction.
Absolutely, and it just is really a testament to what they're trying to build at Kentucky State University. Let's see if they can continue it this year.
On a 1st and 10, this is still Tyson Hill at quarterback, and we thought that we'd see multiple. We still might. On a run on play 1 of this drive, that is Kentrell Reinhardt. Right back to the line, 2nd down and 10.
Running back by committee. Central State University is going to pretty much use a traditional pro set with a few twists. They want to use some power football against Kentucky State.
Reinhardt is a Columbus area native, went to Westland High School, 4-star recruit, committed to North Carolina State, and then decommitted, and now in the backfield at Central State. And look at that. Kentucky State was having none of it. Big loss on the play.
And there again, I mean, the defense and setting people straight as they're trying to bounce outside. It doesn't work. Breakdown. Use your fundamentals, that is. Nice play.
Avante Burt on the try. And then he was quickly covered up. As Kentucky State rolling a couple of different defensive guys in there. But they all swarmed to the ball. Back to the 16 now for a 3rd down play. And they punted on drive 1. That through the hands of the tight end. Just trying to leak out and couldn't find anything was Hill to Kyler Thompson. And not much would have come of it anyway after that play, fake, and roll.
Yeah, and they came with the blitz, Kentucky State. And nice pursuit, nice finish.
Lawrence McConnell, who we talked about in the open, out of Humboldt, Texas, was there on the play. And we see the same formation that we saw previously from a punt attempt for Central State. Now it looks like they're running a 4th down play, standard play, but they'll shift out of that to punt. And so this is Reinhardt to punt. And he gets a good foot into it, and he'll get the good hop.
Dangerous.
Kentucky State was right there, nearly blocked, but it will sit dead at the 37-yard line. So KSU will have drive number 3. This nearly was blocked. Reinhardt did well to get it away. And KSU will have it with good field position coming up. Drive number 3 in the Detroit Football Classic. Scoreless game at Ford Field.
The store is set up. He's got the order, and he's off. It's a full court press. These brands are knocking it out of the park. This, my friends, is the speed we've come to expect from this team. Just look at the precision of that move. And it's out of here.
Ford Field, the home of the Detroit Lions. A lot of good college games have been played in this building as well. And the Detroit Football Classic is back for the first time since 2007. We told you about 2024 Central State. Here's a look at 2024 Kentucky State. 5-6, yes, but one of 15 teams in the country that ended on a 3-game winning streak. They galloped into the offseason.
They really did. And when you can say that you were 5-1 in the last 6 games, you can take that on the road. It travels well when you're going in the athletic department offices and you got transfer portal kids, JUCO kids. It just works well when it has a nice ring to it. We won 5 out of the last 6, and it's favorable right now for the thoroughbreds. I talked with the AD earlier today, as I said, and he's pretty enthusiastic and was very happy to have this game here in Detroit because, after all, Central State's given up a home game to come up here.
And that's part of the Classic, so you mutually agree with the schools on if you want to do it, and they did. And it was a game that was a loss against Albany State that really, Felton Huggins said, that turned their season around. It was a 49-21 loss to Albany State, who's picked to win the league this year. And that got them refocused and back at it to close out the season really well. And we see a change at quarterback. This is Torrance Bardell, who's a graduate native of Louisiana, but transferred from another HBCU, Langston in Oklahoma. And he's in there now to run the offense on this drive, but Central State read that really well too.
Yeah, the fake was executed, but the Marauders weren't having it.
That's Matthias Davis who had the initial pursuit. Gain of 1, second down 9. Bardell, he kind of cocked that arm to start and then checked down for a good completion out to about the 43-yard line. Jalen Middleton on the reception.
I think Middleton wanted a face mask.
And we'll see if he's right.
Let's see. He's trying to wait for him to break. Oh, no. He was a little unsportsmanlike deal. He was trying to politic for a flag.
Sorry, that was Sippian on the reception. That was Middleton who was right by him. So Sippian on the reception. 3rd down and short here for Kentucky State. And close to a first down on the run by Middleton, and he did get to the 48 and a first down for KSU.
KSU is doing it a little bit more conventionally now. Instead of the hurry up, they'll go right back to it, though. I mean, they change personnel, and they get various receiver packages into the ball game, and they do it pretty flawlessly.
So the quarterback, as mentioned, transferred from Langston, 2,300 yards, 21 touchdowns. He rushed for 2 scores as well. Screen pass, put it out there, and shifty for a move out to about the 45. That's Jaden Hale, an East St. Louis, Illinois Flyer, and a really good program in Metro East. Historic program there, and close to a first down. Gain 8.
Yeah, nice inside screen there. Got it there, and ran up the hash near the numbers, and a few juke moves, and nice first down.
Quarterback run. First down to the 40. Ball did pop free at the end of that play, but down at the 40-yard line for the new quarterback, number 6 for KSU, who also was at Arkansas Pine Bluff as well. Gain of 4 and a first down.
I think it's interesting that both coaches have decided we're going to try some different quarterbacks, some different running backs. They're going to use a platoon system. They want to see what their personnel can do, not only in practice, but in a game, a real heated game as this one expects to be.
A lot of stats and good stats for Bardell. And a handoff. This is Chad Elzey Jr. for a gain of about 4. And if you were hoping for points in the first quarter, barring something crazy happening here in the final 16 seconds, you're not going to get it. So Kentucky State is happy with the drive, and that will bring us to the end of the first quarter of play. Is this what you expected?
No, especially when Kentucky State was moving the ball on their opening drive.
That does conclude the first quarter, Mr. Official. We'll go down sidelines with Charlotte coming up next. Quarter 2 coming up for you from Ford Field in Detroit. This is the Detroit Football Classic, Kentucky State and Central State on the Prep.
If you are looking for a life-changing workout experience, look no further than Pure Barre Novi. We are proud to help you achieve your fitness goals while joining a vibrant, supportive community that is over 300 women strong. Our classes are designed to strengthen and tone your entire body, and our teachers can help provide modifications for any fitness level. Find out more right now by calling 248-596-0002, visiting our website, following us on social media, or by coming to our studio right on Grand River Avenue in Novi. We can't wait to see you and help you achieve your fitness goals.
Six first downs, no points in the first quarter. Welcome back to Ford Field. That's a good looking logo, the Detroit Football Classic. With Eric Pate, I'm Russ Eisenstein. Scoreless game, Central State and Kentucky State. Third member of our broadcast team is Charlotte Turbrack, and she joins us with a report from the sideline. Charlotte?
Hi. How do you feel about this coming back after 20 years, and just what are the emotions with it being back in Detroit?
It's been really exciting. This is like something culturally that our community needs. Saluting HBCUs, promoting education, economic empowerment, and just fun for the community.
That led me to my second question. What do you think that the Detroit Football Classic being back in Detroit is going to bring to the city and the community?
I think it's a sports element that's needed. Detroit is a big sports town, but you know, having something that's culturally relevant to our community is really something that we really need.
Well, thank you, and I'm so happy for this to be back. Russ, back to you.
Charlotte, thank you. Cheryl Parks Ajamu, the owner of the Detroit Football Classic. Takes a whole lot of people to put on a game, and Kentucky State has 5 first downs through the first quarter and trying to get number 6. And some persistence there after the pass that was thrown to that left side. That's John McCall, and Central State was right there prior to the sticks and knocked him back. And we'll set up a third down play.
Really nice open field tackling going on by the Marauders. As you can see there, Davis just using his strength. I'm going to go back to what Cheryl Ajamu had to say. I want to do a little politicking. The word for today is politicking. See if I can't get Virginia Union University, my daughter's alma mater, up here to Detroit. Shout out to Ben Wallace's alma mater as well.
We'll get him on the line. Proud program out of the CIAA. Saw them in Charlotte for a couple years when I did that tournament. Trying to get a first down here, Kentucky State, and they do for Jalen Middleton inside the 30. Kentucky State's been down there before. That was drive 1 that bogged down with a missed field goal. Not a whole lot of eye-popping stat numbers as we move into quarter 2 for you, but Kentucky State would love to draw first blood in this one. Total yards in this ball game, 92 yards for Kentucky State, 10 for Central State.
It's got to be word for caution there for Central State offensively.
Bardell on the handoff, and that's Middleton trying the right side. Central State really impressed with the defensive linebackers. Dominic Davis out of Atlanta, Georgia, senior, coming from behind on that play. Really nice job. Pre-injury was a D2 football preseason top 100 pick. Makes a return from injury, and they're happy to have him back. Dom Davis played a couple years at Lenore-Rhine. Second down 8. Bardell out of that pistol. Middleton on the run, middle of the line. Third down coming up here.
It's safe to say that number 0, Dominic Davis, for Central State University, he's been the linchpin. He's got a lot of talent. He's been to some programs. He's a defensive leader. It's what you need when you're trying to make it happen on the first game of the year.
Yeah, Davis and White, some of these guys that are veteran guys, have seen this running back for Kentucky State. Jalen Middleton at 418 yards last year, did have a touchdown. He was the SIAC Offensive Player of the Week last year after the win over Central State. He had 189 yards in that game. Bardell back to pass, looking far corner of the end zone, and he got it. Touchdown, Kentucky State. 6 for the Thoroughbreds. A dime from Bardell to John McCall.
Well, nice play. Nice throw, nice catch, high point. That's what they teach you. The defensive back, if you look at it, He had his back turned, didn't locate the football. And, I mean, had he turned around, you never know, but the celebration, it might have been sweet, but you're going to pay for it. But they got to be happy. First touchdown of the year for KSU. And nice pass, as I said, by Johnson, the quarterback.
So McCall on the catch, and Terrian Holt did come up with the ball at the end of that play. It always looks a little bit more egregious when the helmet is ripped off, and that happened on that play.
Well, yeah, you know, I think that Central State was the cause of the helmet going off, and, you know, young man was not thinking to go get it and put it back on, then start a celebration. Give him grace on the first touchdown of the year. That's what I say.
This is Leland Gantz on for the PAT, and he sticks it clean. So Kentucky State, the Thoroughbreds, gallop on top with the connection from a new quarterback to a veteran receiver. And yes, sir, on the lean back and securing that football by the pylon. KSU on top 7-0. Back on the prep after this.
Lowering the shoulder.
Swing and a miss.
McGinley scores!
My time to shine. He took over.
He got it! Splash!
And that will put some gauze on it. Thought they were having a lot of fun, dishing it off to each other. The dunks were happening, just a good time.
You take a look at Central State on the sideline, down 7-0 to start off this contest in the start of quarter number 2. 10-play drive, about 5 minutes. Ends up for Kentucky State with 6 and the extra point. All-time series, it's a historic one. The first one was back in the 1940s, 1947. This is game number 67.
Yeah, and you have to love those numbers if you're Central State University historically. But recent history, not too good. Kentucky State beat Central State University 24-14 after Central State led 14-6, unanswered, but 18 unanswered in the second half for the Thoroughbreds to get the win. But in Kaplan, my fraternity, right now Alpha Upsilon leads Delta Zeta 7-zip. Shout out to all the members of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated in the house, as well as the other Divine Nine. Cheryl Ajamu, got to give her some shout outs to bring this thing back. It's good. It's going to develop and grow. But Central State and Kentucky State are in the house today.
Marauders with the ball, just 10 total yards prior to this drive. Return here for Central State, and that's Burt, who's a wide receiver and return man out to the 30. We talk about the series. Central State hasn't always had football. They didn't have football the late 90s into the mid-2000s. Central State has had a 17-game winning streak in the series. Kentucky State's had a 10-game winning streak in the series. But KSU has won all but 3, including last year, since Central State brought football back in 2005.
Yeah, and I think that just shows, I mean, Central State had some issues with athletics and budget problems and things of that nature. But I remember the Billy Joe, a former New York Jet, was the head coach in the 80s, and great players, great program that they put together, and they were an independent program at that time.
Tyson Hill still at quarterback, and that's Jaden Bossy on the run. Out to the 35. Good pickup on first down for CSU.
Yeah, the Marauders are NAIA power. It's safe to say that. They've done some great things. And I think they need to find someone that they can trust at head coach that can get folks down to the valley, as they call it, in Xenia, Wilberforce area.
Very well. It could be Tony Carter. That's Darian Fletcher, on the reception on that screen pass will set up a 3rd down and about 2.
And speaking of CSU, Santonio Holmes, that's a household name in NFL circles, former Pittsburgh Steelers Super Bowl winner. He's the receivers coach. He's a guy that has lots of experience, and there's some other NFL guys on that coaching staff as well. We'll talk about that later.
3rd down and a couple here for Central State. Probably the best makings of a drive for CSU today. And a 1st down, Bossy. He's the boss, middle of the field. Stretches his legs and on the run. 1 man to beat, and he will beat him for 6 for Central State. Touchdown, Marauders.
That was big time. And there was no looking back. That's press the accelerator and go for Jaden Bossy.
63-yard stroll. And that was a sprint. Really nice job by the offensive line for Central State, too. And once he got back and past that last diving defender, it was on and to the house.
And I just think that it's Central State in the trenches. Look at hat to hat to hat to hat. Everybody did their job. Bossy did his job, ran through the seam. And I'm surprised that he didn't do the Detroit thing and boss up in the end zone once he got there. But he really good run for Central State. Maybe that'll give them the shot in the arm that they've been looking for all day.
Bossy out of Chicago Mount Carmel High School, a transfer from Jackson State, also a track and field guy too. He's 110-meter hurdles, 400-meter hurdles, 200 yards last year and 2 touchdowns, but he's halfway there to his total from last year in touchdowns with just 1 game today as we take a look at the school history of the Wilberforce, Ohio school, Central State University.
Well, you know, Rob Murphy comes to mind, a young man who was with the Pistons, longtime high school coach, also coached at Eastern Michigan University, a proud Detroit Mumford alum. Omarosa, you remember her? She was tied up with Trump for a little while in the first run presidency. Leotone Price, opera singer, illustrious alums from Central State University. They love that. They have a lot of maroon and gold pride. Check out that band led by Al Level. Yo to the good news. That's another one of my fraternity brothers. Hey, we're going to hear it a lot because these chapters at both schools are very proud, and shout out to them all that are here for the weekend here in the Motor City.
And thinking about going for 2 Central State, and they will with Tyson Hill out of the shotgun. And we'll see what they do here with Reinhardt. Young in, and he does scamper in for 2. And so it's 8-7 Central State as Reinhardt gets in. Young gets in for 2. And the Marauders, they take the lead. Just took 3 plays.
Whoa.
The store is set up. He's got the order, and he's off. It's a full court press. These brands are knocking it out of the park. This, my friends, is the speed we've come to expect from this team. Just look at the precision of that move. And it's out of here.
Lowering the shoulder.
Swing and a miss.
McGinley scores!
My time to shine. He took over.
Got it! Splash!
And that will put some gauze on it. Thought they were having a lot of fun, dishing it off to each other. The dunks were happening, just a good time.
Chi-Town product. Put Central State on top in the D. Long touchdown run and a 2-point conversion. And soon more banners will be hung here at Ford Field. The Lions in the right direction. Yes, say a prayer.
Let us pray. That's a tough schedule, but let's stick to this Motor City, Detroit Football Classic, and a lot of co-eds enjoying themselves. That's the thing. Back in our day, we road trip. We were at a PWI, so headed to those HBCUs were always special. Going down to the Valley, Wilberforce University, which is right across the street from Central State University, Xenia, Ohio, not Wilberforce, Ohio. Wilberforce is like this little bedroom community.
It is.
And Xenia is kind of a little bit of a city. Wright State University is not far from there. So if you're familiar with the area, it's a very nice place. But Central State, wow, I mean, just like that, they have the lead.
Yeah, they have 80 total yards now for the ball game, but they had just 10 prior to that drive. Kentucky State has 124 yards on the ball game and a short kick to set up Kentucky State with really good field position just across the 40-yard line. And that's a bit of a danger. If you get any kind of return on a short kick, that's going to be a problem. It's Josh Woods who runs off the field, linebacker and up man on the return game, and Kentucky State will have it for another drive.
Yeah, and I thought I saw a flag down.
Game one, and special teams meetings generally take up the front of practice, and they meet maybe more than anybody else to coordinate lanes and everything. And then finally, there is an offsides on the kickoff, and so really good field position here for Kentucky State, proud school out of Frankfort, Kentucky. You see some famous alums there, and my goodness, the alums that they've had.
1886. Whitney Young, of course, has a school named after him in Chicago, civil rights activist and director of the National Urban League. You've got Ursa Hines Poston, first black to hold presidential candidacy and whatnot, and didn't get to read it all, but we'll get back to it.
1st and 10 for Kentucky State here. And down by a point in the ball game. Really nice job to maintain balance there after the catch. That's Cameron Tucker, sophomore from LaGrange, Georgia. And a good start to the drive for a gain of about 5.
Yeah, and if you're Kentucky State, let's get back to tempo. When they were up tempo, they were moving the ball pretty smoothly, and they had Central State off balance.
So Torrance Bardell, the Langston transfer, is in there now, and he was the one that dropped in that touchdown on the previous drive. You saw in the graphic, Kentucky State, if we're comparing enrollments, a smaller school based on enrollment than Central State is. And Frankfort, of course, just west of Lexington on the way towards Louisville. And a fertile recruiting ground to be sure, and what Felton Huggins has done with his connections to Louisiana and the South, and bringing some really talented players into the mix. On a 2nd and 11. Option play, and Central State did well to pursue.
I got to be honest, I thought that was a straight-up bust, busted play. And let's take a look at this. And, yeah, I mean, just didn't seem like things developed or were executed properly. And don't look now, but KSU is kind of bogged down. Its offense it's been sluggish here for some series of plays.
So a 3rd down and 12. Last year, Kentucky State on 3rd downs, 41%. Bardell bottled up, still can throw, righty throw and downfield, and he got his man inside the 30 and down to the 25. A right-handed quarterback who is moving to his left, throwing a strike, and a good catch for Traylon Spann, sophomore from Dallas, Texas.
And I'm thinking there's a flag on the play, but it's got to be a hold. But you caught some CSU defenders looking back in the backfield. You can't do that. You got to stay with your man when that quarterback starts to move. Play your zone, play your position. If you're in man, stay with your player.
And that can happen when the play is elongated like that.
Yep. The linemen are kind of unaligned or not aligned of sorts. And you have to stay disciplined because that was a nice pickup. As it turns out, it's a penalty. And now you got a deep third down situation going on.
So Central State up 8-7, 9:20 on the rolling clock for the second quarter. And they've got to feel pretty good if they could get off the field here after scoring and getting the 2-point conversion on the drive prior.
Yep.
We'll see what Bardell can do. Protection's okay. Hangs in the pocket, will run. Flag down. Lets her go. It's caught. I thought he was out of bounds and came back in. That's Cyprian. But we'll see the flag, which I'm wagering to guess is a hold. And to your point, talking about things bogging down a bit, penalties have been that way for Kentucky State.
Yeah, the Thoroughbreds have been somewhat sloppy, to say the least. End of the first quarter, this is most of the second quarter here, and they need to get their swagger back.
And you remember on drive one, it was a good drive. There was a penalty issue there prior to a missed field goal.
I think sometimes we let our opponents dictate what we want to do. I think that's a situation right now with KSU. They got to stick to what they were doing well with.
Third and forever, and a screen pass to set it up. And some room with blockers. This looks really good. And if it weren't for the penalties, that play probably wouldn't have been called that way. But a nice job by Jaden Hale to get out in space. And it will set up a fourth down.
Nice movement. Execution there. That was all number one there. And Kentucky State, I'd love to see them just get back to three wides, quick tempo, and that was Hale on that reception. Good job by him, but just not enough.
Landon Grover on to punt for Kentucky State, and Central State has to feel pretty good getting the ball back with the lead near the midway point of the first half. 4 penalties for Kentucky State, and they've all been costly. That checked out of bounds at about the 29-yard line, maybe the 30. And that's where Central State will get the ball back. +1 midway through the second quarter. We'll tell you about our halftime coverage for you. You're going to want to stick around at halftime, too. 8-7 Central State. This is the Prep.
My time to shine. He got it. Splash.
And that will put some gauze on it.
They were having a lot of fun, dishing it off to each other. The dunks were happening, just a good time.
Central State gets the ball back, +1, and a loss on the play. Bossy was the boss on their previous drive for a long touchdown run. This is a loss of 2 on this play. Nice job by Kentucky State. Middle of the line, coming up to make the hit. That's Leon Muller, sophomore from Germany. I know that we have fans of this game, but there are also fans of the game and the bands. We can tell you that the full performance of the Invincible Marching Marauders and the full performance of the Mighty Marching Thoroughbreds will be carried live here on the Prep. So to answer your question, absolutely, and why wouldn't we? Because that's going to be awesome. Screen pass, nothing. Covered up nicely. You know, Central State's tried to test the edges a little bit, and that's Stephen Hogan, tight end freshman from Canton, but Kentucky State was there on the stop third down play.
Yeah, very good open field tackle right here by Kentucky State.
That's Jeremiah Sanders.
And let's just say it, both teams have done a good job defensively in the open field.
They have.
They've broken down. They've stayed with their fundamentals that you learn, and youth football around here. It's Detroit Pal. It's Sound Mind, Sound Body. Hey, young people, if you're watching, this is what you do. You break down, see the waist, and get the kid on the ground.
Bossy had the big run on the previous drive. This is a chance to scamper here. This is Deontay Young, and Young can run. Far sideline and gone. 6 for Central State. Touchdown, Marauders. Bossy took it in previously. Young had fun for 73, and Central State's on top 14-7.
And all I can say to that is, wow. Follow your blockers, find the seam, and use your speed. And that's exactly what he did there. I mean, that's what running backs are trained to do. Follow your heart. Know exactly what you want to do. That was Young, and that's all speed. He looked like Eddie George.
Who is now coaching at Bowling Green, former head coach at Tennessee State. And, of course, George, a highly decorated All-American and Heisman Trophy winner. And right there, the bust out. And time of possession, largely a meaningless stat. Central State, 7 minutes. Kentucky State, 15 minutes. But Central State on top, 14-7.
My time to shine. He took over. He got it. Splash. And that will put some gauze on it.
Thought they were having a lot of fun, dishing it off to each other. The dunks were happening. Just a good time.
Central State went for 2 after the long touchdown run previously. They're going to do it again this go around as Devontae Young had the long touchdown run, and he's sidecar left now of Tyson Hill with Central State on top. And it's been 2 long runs for the Marauders. Remember, just 1 win last year. This is Hill up the gut for 2. And Central State has put together a nice little run here. A 16-0 run to go on top 16-7.
And I think Hill here, I mean, this is the kind of thing I've been looking for. A nice little draw right up the middle, good fakes. But the offensive line handling their business, hat to hat, as they're taught. And don't look now. The Marauders, 2 touchdowns, 2 two-point conversions, 16 points. Could this be a replay of last year's game, which I'm sure the Marauder fans don't want that. KSU does. Last year they came back 18 unanswered points in the second half. We've talked about that a little bit. But I'm impressed. Central State's showing a lot of resolve after that KSU kind of started fast. And now I just think if you're KSU, its offense has to get going, get back to where they go. See the bands heading down? Al Level, band director over at Central State University, guess what? Used to be at Kentucky State University. And did I tell you, great member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated Delta Zeta chapter.
I heard that.
That's right. And Randy Williams, a good brother from the Alpha Upsilon chapter, and Damon DeBose, and I can name names all day for the Alpha Upsilon chapter at the Kentucky State University. They're all here at this game and very excited. Last night was a great night. Folks come to town for this.
Is there anyone in the stands that you don't know?
Let me think. Yeah, there's a few. But you're gonna folks are going to really enjoy these bands because I used to cover FAMU football in my days at the St. Petersburg Times, and you could barely get your stories done, and you have a deadline no less because you're watching the Marching 100 from Florida A&M University. And some of the teams that would come in, the visiting teams would have a band.
A short tornado spinning kick. That must have been worked on a bit in the offseason, and it spins out of bounds. How rare is that type of a kick? Wow. Well,
they're unloading the special teams book, if you will. Nice spin. Did it go 10 yards?
Well, 45 is listed as a tight end, and that's Jonathan Brown. He's not listed with a kicker next to his name. However, all hands on deck and a specialized play there. And it was touched prior to going out of bounds, and so that's why Kentucky State will have the football at that mark at the 42-yard line. Both of the scoring drives for Central State, by the way, were 3-play drives and long touchdown runs. And we'll see how Kentucky State responds here. That's a good place to go. That's Jalen Middleton. And Middleton, who had the big game against Central State last year, gets a gain of about 5. This is an important 6 minutes left in the first half here for Kentucky State.
Yeah, I think they have to see some of the momentum that I think they've lost.
Central State had 133 yards on just 2 plays, and the defense has come to the party as well. Bardell had nowhere to go. Middle of the line pursuit. That's Matthias Davis, freshman from Southfield. So a Michigander and a Detroiter showing out here at Ford Field.
I want to say I saw, as I prepared this week, 7 young men from the Detroit area, including Travis Reese II on the roster for Central State. And that name sounds familiar. That's a former Spartan, his dad, Travis Reese.
Denham Johnson had that one knocked away, tried to get it to John McCall. And so a 4th down play coming up here for Kentucky State. And so Central State's stacking offensive and defensive possessions together, and KSU will have to punt.
Impressive defensive play by the Marauders. It's almost like they have been awakened after the scoring drive that they gave up.
Matt Bolanos is the punter. On the 2 deeps, Glover was listed. Bolanos on to punt for Kentucky State. He's at his own 31. And gets a good leg into this one. On a back pedal, fair catch. How do you catch that ball on the back pedal? Really nicely done, though, by Avante Burt.
And now Central State get the ball again here. And, of course, they want to sustain a drive, get in and score, and eat up as much time as possible. If you're the thoroughbreds, you want to stop them. 3 and out. Get the ball back, try to score so you can regain a little bit of that momentum. But Central State, I must say, they are, is it fair to say they're dominating the second quarter?
They
I
have,
think so.
And the defense is starting to translate too. That's the first 3 and out of the day for Kentucky State. And so after the long runs for Central State, on offense, the defense has joined the chat as well. Just a 1-win team last year. Tony Carter in his first season at head coach. And former standout at Florida State, 4-year DB star in Tallahassee. There's a face mask on a handoff coming around to the near side. Kentucky State was right there, but it looked like there was a face mask on the run, but apparently not. No flag on the play. Loss of 2. 2nd down 12, and we'll see.
Yeah, that's kind of a weird play, too, because 22 looked like he, for Central State, looked like he had his hand on the KSU defender's face mask. Then it looked like KSU was running off as though they felt like they had recovered a fumble.
Contrell Reinhardt on the run for Central State. Back to the 7. And so to your point, talking about trying to bleed this clock for the end of the second quarter, that's not a good start. But we get a timeout prior to this play. And again, we can remind you that full halftime coverage will occur for both of these outstanding bands.
Where do you get this stuff? On the Prep Network.
That's right.
They're going to show you all the bands because you don't see that a lot.
We do have a poll question if you're in the live chat right now. And this is where School Pride is going to take part. Who is going to win the Battle of the Bands? Will it be Invincible or will it be Mighty? We take a look at the SIAC preseason poll as well. We can tell you that Albany State, 6-win team last year, but they've got a really good quarterback and a firepower offense coming back. It was Clark and Miles in the title game last year. And then you see middle of the pack there. There's a lot. It was important for the league to get the win in the playoffs, Miles. And we'll see the offensive firepower of what Albany State brings to the table this year.
Hey, Russ, I thought those were the preseason rankings for the bands. I'm sorry.
Very well could be. I don't think anyone is ranked 13th in this league in bands because they're all outstanding.
That's right. Hey, ask the alums. Let them tell it.
Tyson Hill on the run out of bounds, and it will set up a short third down play here for Central State.
And Central State, I mean, you certainly didn't want to run out of bounds. You want to keep this clock rolling. Well, he didn't get out of bounds because the clock is still going. But
it stops momentarily when you get out of bounds prior to the 2 minutes.
And
then the clock will continue to roll.
That's right. And you in the background there, Central State University band is making its way to get in position because they're on the field first. That's a big deal with the HBCU bands. Who's up first?
I'm really excited to see the results of the poll as well. Who's going to win it? A big third down play, and Kentucky State was right there on it. Middle of the line, and that was just a chance to try to catch Kentucky State napping. That's Bossy, who had a big run earlier, and he's shy of the sticks. Fourth down play.
There you see a nice try to run there up the middle. Bossy.
Kendrick Curry had the decisive hit. He got some help from his friends, a sophomore from Atlanta. And they're lined up to try to go for this. They've been in this formation before and have punted out of it. And so most likely they will do the same thing here. A quick kick coming up. And it is. And it's returnable. Look at this. Near side run to about the 30. Near side sideline, still on his feet and moving, is Trey Blackman Jr. from LaGrange, Georgia. And that sets Kentucky State up with outstanding field position and flags on the play.
Dumb play there. Central State University on their personal foul. Don't push in the pile, please. Didn't make sense right here.
23-yard return.
And just watch the end, but a nice return for Kentucky State. And then physical play kind of got dumped on his head. Then a push in the back that never gets caught. The second guy always gets caught.
Seems to be that way.
65.
Kentucky State had some penalty issues, and Central State did too on a drive in which they had to punt in the first quarter. They had a third and fourth down and forever. But we'll see about the penalty. Now, it's a fairly consequential penalty considering the field position that Kentucky State's special teams unit allowed them to get.
Yeah.
And if it's 18, that's Elijah Henderson.
Yeah, I'm going to say 65. That's the guy I saw.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I get the benefit of a replay. The official doesn't on the penalty calls. But 65.
And you saw him on the sideline getting some treatment, and there might have been something to that on the play. As you see the invincible marching Marauders as their second quarter invincible offense takes the field.
Well, they're gonna have to be invincible. They need to score. Momentum is critical in games like this, rivalry games.
So Kentucky State has a chance with Denham Johnson. Fires over the middle. And there's a whole lot of congestion there. And incomplete. Wow.
Now, do you say that the receiver hadn't turned around and maybe that's the quarterback's fault?
Timothy Pitts.
Or do you say the receiver had his hands, or the tight end in this case, had his hands on it?
Johnson, who had a shoulder injury at the end of the season last year, in camp, did well, starter again, but good work by the Central State defense, and that was a surefire catch for Pitts. This is a run along the numbers, positive gain for Middleton. And it will set up a third down play and about 4.5 or 5. And they're going quickly. Near the end of the first half, 2:20 left, and Kentucky State down by 9.
If you're Kentucky State, I would try some safe routes to the outside.
The sophomore from Humboldt, Texas. out of that shotgun, and it appears that Felton Huggins is going to want to talk about this.
They opened the game with trips, Kentucky State, and just haven't seen it.
And they'll talk about it in the 2-minute timeout. They just bled it down to the 2 minutes. So the 2-minute timeout, not a warning, but we give you a positive warning knowing that you're going to have halftime activity that's going to be really fun here on the Prep. Both bands will play. We'll have coverage of both bands. But prior to that, important play for Kentucky State out of the 2-minute timeout. Central State up on top by 9.
The store is set up. He's got the order, and he's off. It's a full court press. These brands are knocking it out of the park. This, my friends, is the speed we've come to expect from this team. Just look at the precision of that move. And it's out of here.
Lowering the shoulder.
Swing and a miss. McKinley scores!
And it's going to be a challenge for us. I mean, they're a really talented football team. I think everybody knows that.
4 wide receivers. Pressure. Steps up. Marshall wants to run again. Cuts down the middle of the field. All alone. Touchdown! Warriors! What a cut.
The Detroit Football Classic on the Prep. Welcome back to Ford Field. With Eric Pate, Charlotte Turbrack on our sidelines, I'm Russ Eisenstein. Together with our outstanding The Prep crew, we bring the DFC to you. And a third down play coming up for Kentucky State at the Central State 31. Now, this was a drive that started after a good return. That personal foul set them back a bit, and they're trying to overcome that.
Again, Kentucky State's got to, I think they have to throw it here and try to get the first down.
Middleton on the run right. It was blocked pretty well, but covered up nicely. Tackled down at about the 30-yard line. And so we've seen that Central State defensive front, Kenyon Smith, junior from Cincinnati, on the stop. This is a 4th down play, and you're in a tough spot for a long field goal. And so it would appear that Felton Huggins and Kentucky State is going to go for it on 4th down here.
4th and 3.
Now keep in mind, last year they were 0 for 16 on 4th down conversions. Earlier they had a 43-yard field goal attempt that was missed. 4th down here for Kentucky State. And there is the first 4th down conversion in a couple of years for KSU, and a sigh of relief for Thoroughbred fans as Darius Cyprian reels it in.
Well, did you hear the champagne corks pop? Because that is a nice throw and a nice route. And it's kind of dangerous throwing it across the middle on 4th and 3, but nonetheless, you get the first down, and that's what you want.
Johnson certainly has the ability. Returning quarterback with nearly 1,500 yards last year, and they go over the middle again, and that's close to a first down gain. That's John McCall. And with under a minute left, Kentucky State is managing this pretty well.
Central State playing a little zone, so the Thoroughbreds are responding by having their receivers sit down in the zone. Find an open spot. Quarterback's job is to find their open receiver, and they did that on that particular play.
2nd down and short. Johnson, he can use his legs, but he just fell forward. Might have been tripped up, but the turf might have got him more so. Down at the 10, and with 17 seconds left, a timeout for Kentucky State. And you see the body language there. Johnson knows that if he just kept his feet, that would have been a touchdown.
No, look at this. He read it perfectly, broke a tackle, and then just tripped. Man, that one hurts if you're the Thoroughbreds. But don't fret. They have 17 seconds, probably about time for 2, maybe 3 plays, depending on what they do.
And for Johnson, he rushed for 6 touchdowns last year, so he does have the ability to run. You're in a tough spot considering the fact that from a timeout perspective, you don't have any. "17 seconds left for the half. Let's go downstairs to Charlotte.
Thanks, Russ. Dr. Level, just give us a little bit of an idea of what we can be expecting from this performance. I know a lot goes into this, so just let us know.
Well, it's going to be a high energy. It's going to be a high energy show. Our students have been working very hard. We're excited to be here in Ford Field. I'm actually from Detroit, so to be home in front of family, friends, and all of that, the students got my back and I got theirs, so it's going to be a high energy, high impact, and a lot of fun out there today.
Just let us know a little bit of what the preparation is for a performance like this.
Well, we had band camp. We had a 2-week band camp, so I had the students on the campus to hold for 2 weeks. We did nothing but band, nothing but marching, nothing but music and all that to prepare for today. And so once school started, we had 1 week to prepare as well. So, but they come to us after classes are over. We have to learn music, we have to memorize music, we have to learn dance routines, drills, and all those kinds of things. So there's a lot that goes into it, but I'm confident that we're going to come out victorious today.
Can't wait to see the performance. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Russ, back to you.
Charlotte, thank you. Dr. Alvin Level and the band director of the Invincible Marching Marauders. Right there, the CSU defense. I'm impressed with Kenyon Smith, active with the paw to knock down that pass. Second down goal coming up for Kentucky State. Down 9, and we'll trail at halftime, but trying to get a little bit closer here.
With the incompletion, they'll get 2 shots at it. I apologize. It's Dr. Alvin Level of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, Central State University Marching Band Director.
Putting the doctor on the name,
right.
The flag down on the play. You see this a little bit in these short yardage situations when the pressure mounts at the end of halves, trying to get the perfect play call. It might take too much time, and that's what happened there for Kentucky State.
It's safe to say CSU's defense in particular made the adjustment, and conversely, KSU's offense has kind of sputtered because they played to CSU's tempo. CSU is controlling the defensive tempo. They're making KSU have to slow it down.
This defense was just 6th in points allowed per game last year. Flags down on the play, trying to keep the play alive. A leaping attempt at an INT, and it's incomplete. Oh, man, you don't get many of those, and I'm sure Justin Harris, sophomore from Richmond, thought he had it. There's a flag down on the play, and so if it were on Kentucky State and that interception held up, it would have been a massive swing to halftime.
That has to be a hold or some sort, and I think there it is right there, right in front of us, and they dodged the bullet there, Kentucky State's offense. It was a shift.
Thank you for the explanation. You don't get enough of those explanations. 8th penalty on the day for Kentucky State. Just 1 for Central State.
Wow.
And that probably more important than the time of possession in this game because it's been quick drives for Central State to score.
Yeah, I was going to say that tells the story there. The penalties. Thoroughbred's going to have to go back in the locker room and regroup. They have to settle for a possible 3 here.
So it's a 37-yard attempt. Right-footed kicker, and it is popped through and good. So Kentucky State gets something out of it for Leland Gantz, freshman from Centerville, Ohio. And that's got to feel good for him, getting 3 on the board for Kentucky State. It is 16-10 Central State at the break. It's been a fun one here in the first half of the Detroit Football Classic, and the Marauders are on top by 6 at the break. And we've got halftime to come for you with bands coming up. We'll take a break to reset. Band performance coming up next. A full coverage day on the Prep in Detroit.
Lowering the shoulder.
Swing and a miss. McGinley scores!
Halftime scores, Central State 16, Kentucky State 10. And we're glad to present for you on the Prep coverage of the halftime show of the Detroit Football Classic. And for a school that was founded in 1887 in Wilberforce, Ohio, and a school that's so proud, they'll get first draw, the invincible marching Marauders of Central State University. The field is yours. As you would expect, an outstanding performance from the invincible marching Marauders of Central State University. The director is Dr. Alvin Level. They've performed at Mardi Gras for the Browns, the Cavs, the Pacers, the Pistons, the Battle of the Bands in Atlanta. They've been to Barcelona and London. They were featured on the film Dave Chappelle's Block Party. They are the pride of Central State University, the Central State Invincible Marching Marauders, and what a show it was. You're watching halftime of the Detroit Football Classic on the Prep. Central State leading things off at halftime and up at halftime on the field in the game, 16-10. And so now it's time for a pride of Frankfort, Kentucky, and Kentucky State University. The Kentucky State Mighty Marching Thoroughbreds, their chief director of bands is Rodney Chisholm. In 2019, they were the best band in the land. They performed at the Battle of the Bands in St. Louis, Columbus, Lexington, and the Honda Battle of the Bands. Onward and upward is their school motto. The Kelly Green and Light Gold set foot on Ford Field's turf. Here is the pride of Kentucky State University, the Mighty Marching Thoroughbreds. They are the mighty marching thoroughbreds, and they combine with the invincible marching marauders. You could probably hear their sounds and feel their moves all the way back to Wilberforce, Ohio and Frankfort, Kentucky. Such a proud and important and wonderful part of HBCU Classics on display today at Ford Field. Central State 16, Kentucky State 10 at the break. We'll be back for half number 2 after this on The Prep.
If you are looking for a life-changing workout experience, look no further than Pure Barre Novi. We are proud to help you achieve your fitness goals while joining a vibrant, supportive community that is over 300 women strong. Our classes are designed to strengthen and tone your entire body, and our teachers can help provide modifications for any fitness level. Find out more right now by calling 248-596-0002, visiting our website, following us on social media, or by coming to our studio right on Grand River Avenue in Novi. We can't wait to see you and help you achieve your fitness goals.
So the outstanding halftime leads to what hopefully will be an outstanding start of the second half with Eric Pate and Charlotte Turbrack down on the field. I'm Russ Eisenstein. Central State 16, Kentucky State 10. KSU scored at the end of the first half, but Central State had the big plays in half number 1, and they'll have the ball to start off half number 2 as we take a look at the highlights from half number 1, and there were some big-time plays, some big-time runs for Central State, helping them build this 16-10 advantage.
Yeah, there certainly were, and it was a sandwich between like the touchdown and the field goal for Kentucky State.
Yeah, this was the touchdown throw, and this was the big highlight. McCall from Johnson, and that was dropped right on in there for a wonderful catch on a fade back.
Definitely was a dime, I'd say that, and the high point catch by the receiver, I mean, all you could ask for.
Then there were a couple long touchdown runs for Central State. They get the ball to start off half 2, and Kentucky State at halftime had to be pounding the fact that they need to stop the run, and they did right there.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's all about not allowing them to get to the creases. I'm talking about, when I say them, I mean the Marauders running backs by committee. They've been able to get through the creases and go long the distance in two different cases.
This is Bossy's drive at running back, and that's a throw out to the near sideline. We thought we'd see multiple quarterbacks today for Central State, but in this sense, it's Tyson Hill, and that was a screen pass for a minimal gain. Third down coming up. As you see the stats from half number 1 right there, and time of possession doesn't mean much because 11 minutes, a lot of value.
And look at, just as we thought, the Thoroughbreds lead in passing yards, 128 to 13. But conversely, the Marauders, those 2 long runs, Bossy and Young, lead in rushing yards.
3 for 6 on third down conversions in the first half, and Kentucky State was certainly up to the challenge to lasso the run. That's Young, who had the other long touchdown run for Central State in the first half. And now comes a fourth down play, and we saw this a couple of times in half 1 where they lined up to go for it, and they didn't go for it, and then punted the ball, and we assume they're going to do the same thing here.
Yeah, they pretty much have to play field possession, be smart. It's early in the second half, But at some point, I think they're going to be opportunistic and catch Kentucky State off guard.
So that's Reinhardt, who puts a nice toe to it, and a fair catch was not called, but then a pancake hit at the end of that play. My goodness.
Oh, big time hit.
Welcome to the party, Mason Wellborn and Jonathan Brown. They have double 45s. That's a 35-yard punt, and you're going to feel it a little bit when you play Central State on special teams. Trey Blackman felt it there.
Yeah, that is a cleanup on aisle 5, so to speak, a Mack truck type hit.
So it's 1st and 10 for Kentucky State at their own 45, and so Central State tried to add to the lead, but a 3-and-out on possession 1. That was fairly reminiscent to the early stages of the first quarter for Central State in this ball game. So back to action, it's Denham Johnson, and he hands it off to Jalen Middleton. And actually, that's Chad Elzy Jr., my apologies. Elzy Jr. on the run, freshman from Bella Rose, Louisiana. We saw him a little bit in half one.
Yeah, I would love to see the Thoroughbreds go back to a little bit more of those trips, passing, formations that worked so well in the first drive. Why change it?
Hale on the reception on that elongated screen pass sets up a 3rd down play. Kentucky State 3rd downs in the first half, 3 for 8, but they did get that elusive 4th down conversion for the first time in a couple years. Total yards in half one. Kentucky State 175, as you saw on the screen, 158 for Central State, but they came in bunches on those big gainers. Good setup, a safe pass, near side Cyprian, and a 1st down for Kentucky State. A hard hit at the end of the play, but that's 1st down number 10 on the day for KSU.
Yeah, it's like an inside screen where the inside receiver takes a step, gets the screen, and the receiver that's on the outside blocks.
So Johnson starting to get in some rhythm here and finding some creases to be able to deliver the football.
And you see what's happening here. I mean, they're increasing the tempo. They're speeding the game up, and I think that gave CSU problems early. Why change it? So KSU is back to their bread and butter, so to speak.
They were 2nd in the league in time of possession last year at over 30 minutes a contest. And doing that in unique ways, but intertwining that speed out with the handoff to Elzy, and that is enough for a 1st down. And Kentucky State's time of possession in half one, not the whole story, but part of it, 18 minutes to 11 and change.
I think that had to be the message in the locker room from Coach Huggins.
That's a run for a nice gain when everything kind of broke down for Denham Johnson, used his legs, and a gainer of about 8 yards.
Yeah, and I think Coach Huggins Coach Huggins Jr. had to be telling his quarterback the very same thing. If you don't see anything, go ahead and run it. We want to keep moving it down the field, advancing the football, and as you can see now, they're deep in the Central State territory.
And a 1st down gain, shiftiness on the play inside the 20 and then down to about the 15-yard line. Chad Elzy Jr. on the run. I like the way he's built. He can take hits, but he's got some wiggle in his hips too.
Yeah, I love it too. He's running with power, but he is shifty. And Central State, if you pound them up front, I think that's your advantage.
Bishop Blakely on the tackle.
And set up the pass. There's a flag on the play.
And penalties were a big issue for Kentucky State in the first half. They had 8 of them. That's their 9th penalty for getting close to 100 yards. They're, well, close relatively. They're at 75 now with that 5-yard infraction, but they were impactful too in addition to the yards.
Yeah, I think that we spoke on the very first penalty of the game that the Thoroughbreds had. That was a drive staller.
That was just a clean drop, just a flat drop. There was a chance there for Hale on what was set up to be a pretty good gainer, 2nd down.
And the penalty, as we said early on, stopped them. And here, this is just a drop. You have to look it all the way in. It's easy for me to say that up here on the third floor of Ford Field.
2nd down and 15 for Kentucky State. It was a 3-and-out for Central State on possession 1 of this half. Kentucky State, with a fairly good set of field position, starts to their drives, trying to see it for another touchdown. Inside give and a good gainer inside the 10.
Change of pace, a draw, things that have been working for the Thoroughbreds. Here you go with a nice inside run.
That's Micah McGowan. He's a Mercer transfer. The Bears out of the FCS level. 3rd down play coming up.
And that's the beauty of the transfer portal. You get a kid that's not too happy at the football subdivision. As you see the lovely ladies and some gentlemen from Central State University. I think that might be the student court.
That's a fake and a throw to the corner. They tried to set up a play similar to what they had on their touchdown pass in the first half. Hale, the slot receiver, that was thrown with a little bit too much gas. And a promising drive led by Denham Johnson doesn't see 6.
And that's been the difference. Kentucky State has not been able to convert. On the other end, Central State University has been able to get 6 and 2s twice. 8 plus 8 is always 16.
Gantz on, and at the end of the first half, he connected from 37. Leland Gantz from Centerville, Ohio, and he pounds that through. It's good, and Kentucky State strings field goals together to make it a 3-point deficit. Not a bad start to the second half for KSU. 16-13 Central State. This is coverage of the Detroit Football Classic on the Prep.
The store is set up. He's got the order, and he's off. It's a full court press. These brands are knocking it out of the park. This, my friends, is the speed we've come to expect from this team. Just look at the precision of that move. And it's out of here.
Lowering the shoulder.
Swing and a miss. McKinley scores!
It was a 10-play drive that took 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Leland Gantz on the field goal, and that's how we're at a 16-13 score. National champions, Central State has them. So this is a D2 school now, but they weren't always, and they were really, really good on the NAIA level in the 90s. They were able to win national championships on that level, and the teams that they played against have all kind of moved up and along from the NAIA. And so those years of winning for Central State, that carries a whole lot of weight.
You know, those 3 national titles, NAIA, of course, and 17 NAIA titles overall. And I think that it's a testament to what their sport, the athletic department has been, the student athletes, and of course some of the great coaches that they've had at Central State University.
And it's also worth noting they were a cross-country and track and field power. They had 12 combined cross-country and track and field championships to make up part of the 17. Back in their championship run, they beat Mesa State in 90. They're a D2 program in the RMAC. Beat Gardner-Webb in 92. They're a FCS program out of the now OVC Big South Association. And Northwestern State, who's FCS, they ended a long losing streak by winning their opener last night over over Alcorn State. And the reward for that is they get to play Minnesota next week. But those are the 3 championships that they won. Also worth noting that Central State won 2 national championships on the NAIA level in hoops, 1965 and 1968. And so Central State down 3, or rather up 3 now, will get the ball for their second offensive possession at half 2.
And it's very fitting that we get to look at those offensive linemen trot on the field. And I'm going to say this, as you take a look at Coach Hudgens Jr., Central State University's best chance today to keep this lead is to let those offensive linemen go to work.
Big gainers were a big part of the first half for Central State, and this is a run to the right side for a gain of about 3. Now, this is a team, Central State, that had the 63-yard touchdown run by Bossy. They had a 63-yard run and a 73-yard run. So that's 136 yards on 2 plays. And that is always a good sign. And it's a good sign when the clarity, the headphones is there too. So appreciate that. Approaching the midway point of the third quarter. Hill on the throw. And a catch and a run after that for Bossy. So Tyson Hill has been the man here. Bossy's had his mitts on the pigskin often. Gained just shy of the 35 at the 34.
And let's just say that the Marauders have gotten a little bit more creative offensively. They started off the game a little slow, and the long runs mix things up for you, opens things up, puts Kentucky State's back on its heels, and allows you to open up the playbook.
Nice job by offensive coordinator Leon Washington. He's also their special teams guru as well. And a first down gain here for Central State. Remember, going to Bossy here on this drive, it was a 3-and-out on drive 1 of the second half, and we have an injured lineman for Central State.
Yeah, we really didn't get a chance to see what happened, but here's the replay.
William Johnson, junior from Solon, Ohio. And we'll step aside for a break as they tend to him. So Central State with a first down play coming up. 16-13 Central State with the lead here at the midway point of the third quarter. And you're watching coverage of the Detroit Football Classic on the Prep.
If you are looking for a life-changing workout experience, look no further than Pure Barre Novi. We are proud to help you achieve your fitness goals while joining a vibrant, supportive community that is over 300 women strong. Our classes are designed to strengthen and tone your entire body, and our teachers can help provide modifications for any fitness level. Find out more right now by calling 248-596-0002, visiting our website, following us on social media, or by coming to our studio right on Grand River Avenue in Novi. We can't wait to see you and help you achieve your fitness goals.
(16-13) Central State with the lead. 7:28 to go, quarter 3 here at Ford Field. First time the Detroit Football Classic's been back since 2007. And there's the national championship history for Kentucky State. And you got to go back to the 30s, but they had a running back by the name of Joe Tarzan Mitchell. That was his nickname, Joe Mitchell. His nickname was Tarzan. And he was a native of Owensboro, Kentucky, ended up in the College Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, those 3 black national championships, 33, 34, and 35. Here's a name that Prep Network may be familiar with, Greg Carter, who was the head coach at Oak Park. And I hear DePores. That's right, you doggone right. St. Martin DePores and DePoris. And he was a baseball player, a catcher. And ironically, we worked together at Inkster High when Devin Gardner was there, and Devin played basketball for us. I was one of the assistants. And Greg Carter, as you see Central State making a move here with their passing game, Greg Carter was cut in favor of Lance Parrish, a catcher that I'm sure Detroit Tiger baseball fans are familiar with. But that's how good Greg Carter was at Kentucky State University.
Jonathan Brown on the reception from Tyson Hill, and a first down. First down for Central State just beyond the 50-yard line. Up by 3, looking for more. Loading up and just a bit too far. Second down 10 coming up, and Hill on his backside there because Kentucky State has really good pursuit middle of the line.
And the running game has generated the entire offense for the Marauders. I think it's safe to say that. And they're opening it up, trying to mix it up here so that Kentucky State will not key on the run.
Tony Carter, 39 years old, first-year head coach. He was hired on March the 20th, so it wasn't that long of a period prior to spring ball and then the offseason work. And we get a flag here on the play prior to it going. 2nd down and 10 will potentially be different.
Yeah, I want to see what the penalty is here, but I want to make this point, and we'll wait for the penalty. You know, when you have these former NFL guys, the thing that's said most of the time is attention to detail.
Yeah.
And NFL guys, you've got Eddie George. You've got, you know, my mind, of course, goes blank as I'm thinking about making that point. But they talk about paying attention to the things that are important, the small things that people may not know.
So here, a 2nd down play. And it was 2nd down and 10 after all of that as the action stopped, and a short gain as Central State continues to try to pound with Bossy, who had the big run of the first half.
And I think that's good, but you got to check that entry for that big offensive lineman that went down for Central State. They're committed to the run. Deion Sanders and everything he's done at the University of Colorado, to go back to that original point, attention to detail. These former pros, and I'm sure Santonio Holmes brings that. Coach Carter brings that to the table for Central State University, a former NFLer himself.
3rd down play coming up. 3rd down and 8 for Central State. Hill flushed out of the pocket. Kentucky State's there, and it's a quarterback sack. You could say that was a covered sack, but it started with the swarm of Kelly Green and gold up front and a big play defensively for KSU, and punt time here for Central State.
And they're flexing a little muscle here, and maybe they've come alive. Maybe it was the halftime talk, but their base front is getting it done, and the linebackers are right there. When they see run, they are pursuing.
Kendrick Curry, credited with the quarterback sack, lost a 2 on the play, but it seemed to carry more weight than that. And this is a shank of a punt. And so we've seen Central State try to use that short punt game. And this was off the foot that will send KSU back to the 28. And they'll have possession here with 5 minutes for the 3rd quarter, trying to tie or take the lead.
Yeah, I love the fact that this game hasn't really been a shootout. It has been a solid football game where fundamentals stand out. I think you can learn a lot from what you see on your screen with young men that can tackle. That's a rarity. Nowadays, it doesn't seem like a lot of folks do that, but again, we talk about attention to detail. And that's exactly what you're seeing when these two teams are defenses, especially their defenses, are on the field and making tackles in the open field. For a opening game, a first game of the year, I think both teams have done a good job with that.
Remember, this is a conference game, too, to start. Central State picked 13th, and Kentucky State picked 10th. 1 win for Central State last year, 5 for Kentucky State. And visiting with Felton Huggins, the 3rd-year head coach of Kentucky State, 8 wins in his first 2 years. He talked about development of the person, and that's a lot of what coaching should be, right? But he talked about keeping your feet under you. Football is an expiration date. Life doesn't stop. Be willing to compete. He played for Hal Mumme when he played at Southeastern Louisiana, and that's, you remember, where the air raid really got going in a different chapter. So he credits Hal Mumme with changing his life. That and the fact that Felton Huggins also coached high school after being a college coach. He was a Division III head coach. He was at tiny LaGrange of Georgia, Division III. He was at Charleston Southern as well for a year. COVID hit, and then he taught and coached at Slaughter Charter High School in Louisiana in 2021. And he said the kids changed him more than he changed them. And Felton Huggins, the head coach of Kentucky State, who did it the hard way as a player, doing it as a coach and doing a nice job too. And his ball club has a good chance to tie or take the lead here on a Gerd gain for Micah McGowan, the 5'9", if that, graduate student from Petal, Louisiana. And that sets up a second down play, but we have a stoppage prior to that.
You got a player down for Central State University. But to your point regarding coaching, in the HBCU ranks, everyone's not at Jackson State. Everyone's not in the MEAC or the SWAC, the two biggest conferences in historically black college and university football. They're at schools like Virginia Union. They're at schools like Miles College. They're at Edward Waters College down in Florida. They're at places like Central State University and Kentucky State. And sometimes they have to go back to high school and get the experience that athletic directors say they lack. So shout out to all those coaches and a lot of admiration for them.
We could tell you the injured player is they're all important, obviously, but this is very important for Central State. Down on the play is Mike White, the D lineman, the graduate student out of Springfield, Ohio, and he is everything to Central State as we take a look at that SIAC preseason poll, and we'll see how it all shakes out. Albany State's offense is electric, absolutely electric, and will be very interesting to see these two teams against them. And coming up next week, it is a home game at Alumni Stadium for Kentucky State against the aforementioned preseason #1 Albany State.
I love that preseason poll, and judging by what we're seeing today, I think the prognosticators might have been wrong about both teams.
Second down and about 4 here. We'll see what Central State does defensively with White off the field. And McGowan, this is his series for Kentucky State, and a minimal gain. Third down coming up.
Solid football plays here. Again, good tackling. That can help you overcome a lot of mistakes if you can tackle well.
Kentucky State stacked scores. They were field goals, but they were still scores at the end of the first half and their first drive of half number 2. So they are on a 6-0 run here after trailing 16-7, and the bulk of those points, all of those points, came on big runs. And here, Central State was not fooled by any kind of a pitch to Micah McGowan. Nice job by the Marauders to come over and make the play. That's Dominique Dom Davis.
He's been played an integral part in the Central State attack, but look at number 13 there. I mean,
yeah, he started it off. That's Terrion Holt.
Yeah, really nice play by Holt coming from a defensive back position there.
On a third down play when Kentucky State wanted to keep the drive alive.
Huge.
Punt time here for Bolanos, the Kentucky State punter, and he's a good one. This is a good punt. It sends back inside the 20, and it's a fair catch. You know, there was some room to run after that for Avante Burt, but because of the back pedal, that came after the fair catch. And a punt of around 40 yards will set up Central State for another offensive possession.
I think Burt has done a good job considering this is an unusual situation where you're playing in a pro stadium. You got the lights, and you could easily lose that. And I would like to think that some of these guys are nervous coming in here playing where the Lions make their home. The Detroit Lions of the National Football League.
Bolanos' punt was 42 yards, so I guesstimated that quite well. And Central State will have possession, second possession of the half at their own 19-yard line. Up by 3. And it's going to get late pretty quick here. We're already near the end of the third quarter. This is Hill up the middle, and Kentucky State read that pretty well down to the 20-yard line.
I think this third quarter has been all about defense. Both teams are content with trying to establish the run. It's going to come down to someone either making a huge stop, an offense trying to gamble, defense getting a turnover, a fumble, or an interception. And I just think we're going to be in for a good finish.
Hill last year had a touchdown in the loss to Kentucky State. It was a 24-14 KSU win on November the 9th. Hill back to pass. Screen pass knocked away. That's a nice job defensively by Kentucky State. And their corners have been solid. That's Jeremiah Sanders out of Houston, Texas, 6'2". And he brings some physicality to the corner position.
Definitely did, and that was a hair's razor thin situation from being a turnover there.
Darian Fletcher, the intended, he's from Fresno, California, 5'9" and a senior.
Now you got 3rd and 9. See if Central State can make something happen with this.
Kentucky State still has the momentum here at the start of half 2, and that's a conservative play, and we saw that in the first half as well. Bossy on the run, and that sets up a 4th down and another punt.
Can't say enough about the punters today. You're getting a lot of action here in week 1.
Kentrell Reinhardt has been the one to do it out of this short punt formation, and he puts his right foot into it pretty well. That's a roof scraper of a punt, and it gets an outstanding bounce. Oh, that's nice. It's not necessarily how it looks. It's the result of it. Down inside the 25, down at the 23, and a big possession coming up for Kentucky State. Your point, which will be the greatest point of the day, is coming up after a break.
Okay.
1:34 to go, quarter 3, 16-13 Central State on the Prep.
Lowering the shoulder.
Swing and a miss. McKinley scores!
I teased it, so here it is. Before a big drive for Kentucky State, a big point from Eric Pate. What do you got?
Yeah, I just think that Coach Tony Carter you have to give him some credit. I saw that his center.
Deep ball, wide open, middle of the field, caught on a dime, put out there by Denham Johnson, and Darius Cyprian strolls in for 6. Wow. 70 yards, and just like that, Kentucky State gallops out in front.
Well, KSU just set him up, and never mind that point. But I got to tell you, that was they played kind of not poker, but it just didn't show any cards. Running the football. They set him up. The deep pass play came out of nowhere, and that's what they're capable of. They're capable of big-time plays with the passing game.
And it is a big-time game. It's a classic. It's the opener, and it's well done. That was absolutely perfect on the deep shot. And after that punt, it's kind of like a sudden change sort of situation. When you force a turnover, well, it wasn't a turnover. It was a punt. And then Lettner ripped down the field, and Cyprian composed with his boys on the sideline right in front of Chris Armani Rose and the prep crew. Very nicely done.
I think Cyprian is saying, I'm him. I mean, because he ran the fly route wide open, blew past everyone. I think they caught, needless to say, they did catch the Marauders slipping.
One play, 70 yards. And when you look at what Kentucky State brought back and the veteran nature of their ball club, Denham Johnson is a big part of that. And to have the trust in your quarterback to throw that deep ball at the start of a big offensive possession, that does so much for everybody involved.
And see, now, if you're Central State, you've got to say to yourself, listen, we've got to answer that And it might have to come down to the passing arm of our quarterback, Hill. It very well may come down to that because they're not making anything happen with the running game.
This an over-the-shoulder catch and a tough catch, and then trying to come out, and we'll see what Burt can do. He's going to run a lot of territory for not many yards. Out of bounds at about the 21-yard line, and that is pretty much the return because he caught it at the goal line. And so with 1:16 to go for the third quarter, to your point, what's it going to be for Central State? Are they going to gash for another big play on the ground again?
Yeah, they're going to have to try to find something other than the running game. I think the short passing game is something that they have to try. Or they're going to have to use this offensive line like they did earlier today and go between that right guard and right tackle, hit a seam, and hope for the best with the two running backs that they have in their backfield, Young and Bossy.
This is a flipped roster, 55 new players. Tony Carter dove into recruiting and talent evaluation in a short amount of time. And here, Kentucky State is not fooled by any kind of run, no matter who's in the backfield. This time, it was Young, who also had a big run in the first half, pulled down to the backfield by a swarm of thoroughbreds.
There was nowhere for him to go there, and all you see is that green and gold everywhere. They're playing solid pursuit defense. The defensive line of Kentucky State starting to make some things happen, maybe dominate.
How about this path from Munich, Germany to New Mexico Military Institute, then to Frankfort, Kentucky. That's Leon Muller, that's 90, who made that play.
Wow.
Hill on a handoff. Young to the right, trying to get to the corner, steps through a tackler, and he might have a first down.
Wow. I mean, very impressive run there. Tiptoed along the sidelines, showed some power, all of that.
Devontae Young, once he turned that corner, he had leverage and passed one defender right there. That's always tough when you're in space and you're on the edge like that. And that's Navy Curry, who couldn't make the tackle. They'll say he went out at the 28, so the third down play.
They won't get the playoff. We're going to go ahead to the fourth quarter. They'll switch ends.
Well, a classic indeed. Fitting of the Detroit Football Classic's return to downtown Detroit. Some Michigan magic in the fourth quarter. Who's it going to be? The Marauders or the Thoroughbreds? KSU on top by 4 as we go to the fourth on the Prep.
The store is set up. He's got the order, and he's off. It's a full court press. These brands are knocking it out of the park. This, my friends, is the speed we've come to expect from this team. Just look at the precision of that move, and it's out of here.
Fourth quarter about to start. Kentucky State on top 20-16. Let's throw it down to Charlotte, who is Zach Carr, a Kentucky State alum.
Thank you, Russ. Coach, you went to KSU. You played for KSU. KSU is playing in Detroit, a city you're very familiar with. What emotions does this bring to you?
Full of high emotion. K-State is a school where I earned my undergrad and my master's degree. They're coming out here. They're being relentless. They're showing up today, man. I like the score we just scored. I think we're going to pull this one out today.
You are the coach of Detroit Denby, 2023 state champs here at Ford Field. What is being on the field back at Ford Field bring to you? What emotions?
It's a play that we aim every year to get back to. So, I got some of the guys here with me today. And so this is a place that we're very familiar with, and this is one of our goals in the season.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck on this season.
All right, thank you. Go Thoroughbreds.
Respect to you.
Charlotte, thank you. We got a face mask on the Young run, and that sets up a first down for Central State. Face mask on that play after the awesome interview downstairs. You know, the ties between these programs and Detroit is important too, and great to see a KSU grad leading championship level high school football here in Detroit.
Yeah, Zach Carr is a guy that's done a great job over at Denby High School, and they're some tough guys. I just wish they stopped beating the Pershing Doughboys, my alma mater.
Rolling out Hill, wide open, middle of the field. Nice job to settle down and make the catch. That is Latrell Snow, senior from Canton on the play, and that is a first down for Central State. Down 4. They haven't trailed for a long time, playing from behind, but a good start to this drive to start off the 4th.
And what they're doing is Hill is executing their offense. It's simple. In the zone, find a spot, and we'll get it to you. And this could be has the potential to be a good answer to the Kentucky State University long score.
So that allows them to kind of soften things up in the middle after using the pass a little bit. And that's Bossy on the run. Had the big gainer in the first half for a touchdown, and here he gets about 3.
And see, now you got some balance. You can go back to your running game and see what yields come. You know what comes out of that.
Already, Central State is 6 points better than their point average last year in the 1-win season. They averaged 10. They have 16 now, and this is a play fake. Hill on the run, not much room there, but good coverage right behind the play. That was intended for Snow. And a third down play just like that. And this is big to try to force a field goal for Kentucky State.
And what a time for probably his worst throw of the day. Really kind of a nasty throw by Hill. Didn't have his feet set, but the pass rush was coming. So like I said earlier, it's easy for me to say that up here. But when you're on that field, you got some 250 to 280 pounders chasing you. You got to make something happen.
4 for 10 on third downs today are the Marauders. Third down and about 8. And this is a draw play. This is up the middle to Bossy, and they might think about going for it here on 4th down and very manageable inside the 20.
Yeah, and that point that I was going to make is that Tony Carter, attention to detail, shortening those long snaps on 4th down. Well, this is a good time to, maybe shorten that snap and make something happen on a screen or something like that.
Last year, they were 0 for 16 on 4th downs. Today, Kentucky State, and this is Central State on a run up the middle, trying to get inside the 15. I don't know if Bossy got there. Far side judge says yes. Near side judge says no. Kentucky State's jumping around. They didn't get it. It's a turnover on downs.
That one hurts because the crease wasn't there. Kentucky State closed the door. And, hey, it's KSU football. Watch how this thing closes up quickly. And that's 90, and that's 44.
Well, Matei Yeoman, 5'10", sophomore is what's listed, but he plays a little bit taller than that. 44 is the one that made the play, and a turnover on downs. And so Kentucky State, with the lead, gets the ball back at 12:39 for the 4th quarter.
And now they can use the clock, use their running game, and do the things that they feel that are necessary. That was Yeoman, man, number 44. That I think he just really made a very important play right there. And let's see if the Kentucky State offense can keep its composure, don't make any mistakes, no penalties, and move the football. Central State's defense got to be stout right here.
Denham Johnson on an out route to the near sideline, and it just was dropped.
Defensive back for Central State slips, and goodness.
John McCall, the intended, and he's banging on his chest saying that's on him.
And the defender, as you can see here in the replay, he takes a slip. Was out of position a little bit there and had a chance to make a big play.
2nd down and 10 for Kentucky State, trying to make Felton Huggins a 9-win head coach in his now 3 seasons in Frankfurt. His father was a coach. He quotes from Pete Carroll, Bruce Arians, J.J. Redick often. And here, just an errant throw, try to get it out to Jaden Hale. And in this situation, Kentucky State up by 4, doing Central State a favor with Bardell at quarterback.
Wow.
Now, he had the touchdown throw in half one. Third down play.
I think they're looking for somebody to get that inside receiver. Central State is. He's in motion now for Kentucky State.
Fake the screen, dump over the middle, set up well. First down and more, Kentucky State. Look at this, on the run, down the field, and galloping into the end zone from 85 yards away. Touchdown, Chad Elsie Jr., and Kentucky State adds to the lead. They're up by 10.
And, you know, that was all predicated on the motion play, remember? That was Hale that went in motion. I think some of the Central State defenders were distracted by it and set the screen up perfectly. Great call by the offensive staff for Kentucky State.
They've intertwined a couple of quarterbacks here today. Bardell has a touchdown pass. Johnson has a touchdown pass. Now Bardell has two of them. This that was set up, credit to the offensive line for holding everything down to allow Elsie to get out and run. Extra point is good. And Kentucky State, with a 1 minute and 23 second three-play drive, is able to get it in there for a touchdown to add the lead to 11.
Yeah, let's not forget about the motion play, though. Hale set it up. When he went in motion, it seems as though Central State shifted it, and it just left it wide open. Very nice inside screen, run down the seam, and it's a foot race for 85 yards.
Lead was at that point where Central State was getting a little closer, but it's an 11-point Kentucky State lead now on the fourth quarter on the Prep.
My time to shine. He took over. He got it. Splash. And that will put some gauze on it.
They were having a lot of fun, dimshing it off to each other. The dunks were happening, just a good time.
How many big plays can you have in a football classic? Well, Central State's had a couple. Kentucky State's had a couple. Kentucky State up by 11 right now. There's Elsie on the way to the house.
Wow. Nice play call. Good execution, as you pointed out, on the offensive line for the Thoroughbreds. Motion play where you have to keep an eye on number one. He's running well. And look at the Kentucky State fans having a little good fun in the stands.
I got to tell you, the style and the moves and the fun that you will see and be a part of at a football classic wherever they are, and they're all over the country. And actually, Kentucky State's taking it to a U.S. territory. They'll be playing in Puerto Rico coming up later this year. So I'm sure they know how to have style and moves down in Puerto Rico, and I think the Kentucky State fans are going to have fun with that too.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of this thing with the portal and Russ. You can go to places, and you have to have a schedule that's conducive to getting a kid to say, hey, look, I'm going to forsake another FBS school and head over here to an HBCU where I'm going to, A, get a chance to play, B, get an opportunity to go participate in some nice classics, and C, possibly go to one of the, islands.
So talking about the history and taking a look at Central State, this is an important offense possession. Tony Carter said that he was offered Power 5 position coaching roles, and he wanted to be a head coach instead. As you take a look at what the Prep brings to the table here, spots are available if you're in the Metro Detroit area throughout the state of Michigan, trying to expand into Illinois and Indiana. This is a great way to showcase your high schools or your colleges, and so the Prep is available for that. But talking about Central State and Tony Carter, as you see a run there to start off this drive, and Central State's had big plays on the ground. That's Delvante Young. Tony Carter said that he wants Central State to be the HBCU that people are talking about. that he wants in that space Central State to be the place to be. And he is setting a good foundation with a fun first game.
It used to be. It used to be one of those schools that was always mentioned. You open up your little Jet magazine, and they were always ranked in the top 10. For those young people that don't know what Jet magazine is, you're on the stream, Google it.
Elijah Henderson blew up that play. Junior from Jackson, Mississippi. Nicely done. Yeah, Jet magazine. I'm sure they talked about the classics back in the day.
Ebony and Jet. And they had the Sheridan radio, Sheridan Broadcasting, top 10. And that's how I was able to keep track of my favorite HBCUs. That's how I learned about HBCUs. Ebony and Jet magazine, and my mother, South Carolina State University. And it's very important for folks, not only black folks, all folks, to know the history of the historically black colleges and universities.
And the number of great players that have come from HBCUs that have gone on to play pro football, and the list is hopefully growing here. This is a play to set up a play. That pass was a good connection with Hill, setting up a nice reception made by the running back Bossy, but actually the catch made by Burt. My apologies. We have an injury on the field. Another offensive lineman down for Central State.
Yeah, and
back behind the play.
I'm going to close off your point by saying this. A lot of gold jackets come from the HBCUs, too. I mean, if you think about Art Shell, you think about Gene Upshaw, the late Gene Upshaw. You think about some of the great players, Deacon Jones, the late Deacon Jones. A lot of these guys played in HBCUs. I could go down an entire list. I mean, there's 300 some odd gold jackets hanging around. Quite a few came from the HBCUs.
Yeah, seeing what Steve McNair did at Alcorn State,
Yes.
and of course Jerry Rice and Walter Payton and so many others, and hopefully the list will continue to grow. We have immediate timeout for injury. Kentucky State trying to hang on to an 11-point lead. This is the Prep.
Lowering the shoulder.
Swing and a miss. McKinley scores!
The Detroit Football Classic coming down to the wire. Still time in the fourth quarter, 10:39 left. Kentucky State 27, Central State 16. With Eric and Charlotte, I'm Russ. Fourth down play coming up here for Central State. And there was an injury down on the field. One of the offensive linemen for Central State could not see a number, but pulled off to the sideline. And now we'll see what Central State does. They have elected to go with this kind of tightened formation on a punt. And it's not necessarily a punter that's doing it. Kentrell Reinhardt is a fullback by trade, and he is set up at the 25. And this is a fake. Kentucky State was ready for it. He rolls out. It's intercepted. Near side sideline, hurdle a man and down. Kentucky State was not fooled. It was a fake, and Elijah Henderson comes up with it. And Kentucky State has a chance to gallop away with this one.
I just have to say that they've set this up all day. And if a guy that normally doesn't throw the football has to throw the football after a couple steps, bad things are going to happen. And that's exactly what happened here.
Kentucky State didn't have anyone back to return. They were certain that it was going to happen in a short yardage, fourth down situation. Down by 11, Central State. And that's just not going to work.
Well, you use the rules as a quarterback not to throw across your body. Number 22, what did he do? Threw across his body. And just threw it right to the Kentucky State defender's hands and arms and things, and it's just all bad things happen.
Denham Johnson on a run inside the 10, down to about the 9. Last year, Kentucky State had 10 interceptions. They get one today. Last year, Central State, they picked off 7 passes. But in this case, Kentucky State, that won by double digits last year in week number 10 of their season, trying to get a little breathing room here as we're under 10 minutes left in the game.
And if you're Central State, this is hold that line time. Don't let anything happen here. 3 and out, or hold them to a field goal. Maybe they'll miss, maybe they won't. But you don't want this thing to become a 3-score game.
Pistol set with LZ getting the rock. Up the middle, blocked well. He's close. He is down inside the 1. And that's power running. We've seen the full stride gallop from Kentucky State today. But here it's the front line setting up good lanes. LZ picked the right one and pulled down just before the goal line.
And I just think that they have done the thing with the balance all day. They set it up well, and now it's just a mano-a-mano strong front against the defensive line for Central State. They get in the end zone there.
And they pop it in for 6 for the Thoroughbreds. Touchdown, Kentucky State. It's 33-16.
Well, good drive after the turnover, and they made them pay. The Thoroughbreds made Central State University pay here, and if you're Central State, when you get the ball back, you got to make some things happen. And right now, Kentucky State's going to kick the extra point.
Leland Gantz on for the PAT. Hit a couple of field goals today as you take a look at that interception, and that set it up.
Yeah, he just didn't have anything on it and just threw it right to the first defender that he saw, it looked like.
Extra point is good. Kentucky State, yeah, they're starting to do some yelling, a little talking, getting into the end zone, padding onto the lead. 34-16 Thoroughbreds. 9:07 left in the Detroit Football Classic on the Prep.
My time to shine. He took over. He got it. Splash.
And that will put some gauze on it.
They were having a lot of fun, dimshing it off to each other. The dunks were happening, just a good time.
Watch, like, subscribe, share, all of it. Be part of the Prep. Follow us on social media and take part in the fun of the Prep. High school coverage, college coverage, so many sports. Rowing's even on the Prep. We're talking about doing curling too. It's all possible in this pantheon of coverage that the Prep brings to the table. But here, what we're seeing Kentucky State bring to the table, that was a short yardage touchdown for Denham Johnson. Extra point good, 34-16 KSU.
Off of a turnover. And you don't want those mistakes. And if you're Central State, you got to speed this thing up. You got to score quickly, and defense got to hold Kentucky State. That's the problem. They had a stint here where they played very well defensively, but all of a sudden Kentucky State got their second win and been opportunistic here in the last series. And it's just going to be important for Central State University to do something that they haven't done all day, which is, without the big play stuff. They need the big play now, but they need to just go ahead and get in the end zone and then make something happen.
Jermaine Shagog Jr., wide receiver from Lexington, Kentucky.
Yeah, I think that's the celebration deal.
Sure.
And sometimes when the guys do the celebrations, Now, in my real job, I'm working with high school kids as an assistant principal. I didn't know what that was. Maybe I talked to some people here to my right. They're a little younger. What was that? Like they put their hand over their mouth and they wiggle their fingers? That means get on, boy. I don't know what it means. Get up out of here, boy.
Central State trying to get up and get a little closer, down by 18 right now, and they're still committed to the run, which is going to be a tough situation for them. They hit the big gainers earlier, but is there enough time for them to hit multiple big gainers now? Bossy, the really talented running back out of Chicago, and you talk about the Catholic League in Detroit. Well, the Catholic League in Chicago is a pretty good one, too. He's from Mount Carmel.
Yeah,
that's produced so many good ones.
McNabb.
Yeah. Former Northern Illinois quarterback Jordan Lynch, who is the head coach at Mount Carmel now. Back to pass, Hill. Over the middle, safe pass, and a good connection for a first down at that midfield stripe. To work it to the tight end like that shows progression in the route, and that's Kyler Thompson, junior from Oak Park, Michigan.
And they're speeding it up, and Kyler, nice hands on him, big guy.
Has a good body.
Absolutely. Got to keep moving it. Got to matriculate the ball down the field, as Hank Stram once said. And it's very important that Central State does it within the next minute or so.
So this view from the booth, I'll probably tweet out this picture at some point. That ball is right there in the middle of the Detroit Football Classic logo. Big drive, big play. Kentucky State on defense. And that, I don't know if everybody was on the same page there. It was a deep ball on the near sideline, and it looked like the route was broken off by Quentin Johnson.
Right. And there was some confusion there. He's going back to the huddle with his hands like, hey, what was that? And
yep.
He threw it to the quarterback threw it to the outside. The receiver looked like he was looking for it over his head for him to be led a little bit more. Just whatever the case, didn't work.
Last year's quarterback, Kendall Boney, had 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions for Central State, 586 yards. They lost basically their whole wide receiver room. Hill on the turn and throws, has a man wide open who slipped, came back for the ball. Did he catch it? He did. Inside the 20-yard line. That was, oh no, oh yes. And a big catch for Central State. Nicely done to hang in there for Kamari Adams.
And Adams makes a nice catch, and I was saying a few minutes ago they need to do it in a minute or so. I didn't mean that literally. I meant like a minute or two, but they're making it happen. I mean, that's one more play, and if they could score, you never know.
31-yard, awkward pitch and catch, but a pitch and catch nonetheless. Bossy just MacGyvering his way forward inside the 15 down to the 11. Gain of about 8-9 on the play.
Just got to hurry up, though. I mean, you're down 3 scores. You got to get. You're going to need 2-3 scores. You're going to need 3 scores.
Kentucky State had to take a timeout because they substituted and Central State didn't, and they were caught in a tough short yardage defense situation. And so KSU has 2 timeouts left. This is a big drive. This is a 30-second timeout. And so we will take it 2. Big play coming up on the prep.
The store is set up. He's got the order, and he's off. It's a full court press. These brands are knocking it out of the park. This, my friends, is the speed we've come to expect from this team. Just look at the precision of that move, and it's out of here.
After the game, Charlotte will be down on the field to give out a really nice hat. Brian Metallic and G Brand, what a job they do carving out that market. Google them. Take a look at what G Brand can do for you in your high school or your prep teams or whatever it is that you are working with in your team activities.
Do I need to be the player of the game to get that hat? I just want one.
Well, you can talk to the founder of this company.
I mean, it looks nice.
Hand off to Bossy, and he's bottled up.
I'm not a hat guy, but I like that hat. But there you go. I mean, with a kind of a busted play, you really didn't get a chance to get it going either.
So Central State doesn't have a whole lot of time to waste. They have a full complement of timeouts plus the 2-minute timeout, but down by 18 right now. And this is the balance between getting the play right and getting the play fast.
Yeah, you can get a field goal and still have a chance to win this game, but you need a touchdown. You need 6 plus 2, 8.
Flag thrown on the play, and I don't know if this is a substitution infraction on Central State, but they were looking over to their far side sideline, and they weren't all on the same page.
Yeah, you need 6 plus 2. Wow.
Well, it's good to be accountable, right? You know, I've made a lot of mistakes, and I generally apologize immediately after. So a blanket apology comes in this fashion right now for all the things I got wrong today.
Yeah, Central State is not happy with the official right now. They wanted to run the play.
Bossy with 102 yards for Central State. Young has 110. This is Young and out of bounds. Actually, this is Burt, my apologies.
Yeah.
On cue, I make a mistake. Burt for a 12-yard gain, and inside the 10, goal to go, Central State.
Yeah, they need to get in the end zone. Nice play by Burt.
Turned the corner, withstood the hit.
He's done a great job as a kick returner, fielding thing. They play him like in a flanker position. That's a position that Central State is made popular here. Their offensive set.
Bossy on the spin. Kentucky State was there to cover that spin.
And they get tough, and I do mean tough.
They gang tackle really well. They rush to the ball. A lot of hats in there on the ball carrier. And Muller missed first, but then that was cleaned up by the light green and gold.
Very nice jobs by both teams with the tackling. We can't say, hey, there was just too many missed tackles and this, that, and the third, because both teams have paid attention to that detail.
This is a huge play, second down and goal. Central State doesn't have a whole lot of time. Out of the backfield, Bossy slipped.
Yeah.
And he goes down. He had a touchdown.
And that clock is what? It's churning. It's moving. And you have to get up and get back to the huddle, call a play, and keep going.
He saw that he had a touchdown.
Oh.
His eyes tripped him up there.
The turf monster works 7 days a week, right?
In tandem with your eyes when they get nice and wide, when you know that you have 6 in front of you.
Man.
And to your point, this is valuable time that's ticking away that wouldn't have ticked away if it was a score. Down by 18, but driving. This has been their longest drive of the day from a time perspective. And Felton Huggins running onto the field to call a timeout. He was nearly out to the numbers. So with 3:44 to go, we'll keep it here through the timeout. Coming up for Kentucky State, they have that home game against Albany State, so they start things off with 2 conference games, and I think that's what the non-con against Grambling does to a schedule. You got to shift it a little bit.
Yeah.
They will be down in Louisiana. I'm sure that will be incredibly important for Felton Huggins, a Louisiana native, going down to the home of the great Eddie Robinson and what he did for HBCUs all over the country. That'll be a big game for them before they go play Franklin Pierce in Puerto Rico. Central State next week goes to Tuskegee, and then they finally have their first of just a couple home games. So they'll play at McPherson Stadium against Benedict coming up in 2 weeks. Their FCS game this year is Morgan State, so they'll head out to Baltimore to take on MSU.
Yeah, that's a team that's in the MEAC. MEAC used to have FAM. FAM switched over to the Southwestern Athletic Conference and leaves the MEAC with 6 teams.
3:44 to go, and a huge play here for Central State. That's a play fake. Hill set it up, and a wide open touchdown. 6 for Central State. They're back on the board. That's Stephen Hogan, freshman tight end from Canton, and he gets the Marauders a little closer. It's 34-22.
Well, nice play. I think it's about 3 minutes late, but you never know. I think you have to go for 2.
That was a really nice job.
Yeah.
He chipped off the block. He was set in motion across the pattern, chipped a little bit, and then created
There
that
he
room,
is.
and Hill put it on him.
Yeah, and I think that the nice connection there. This is the biggest play of the game for them as it stands.
That's a 5-minute and 22-second drive, and they get 2 to go along with it. They're versatile out of the backfield, and Devontae Young gets in. He had a long touchdown run earlier. He gets him down 10 now with an 8-point trip down the field. Nicely done by Central State to hang in there on a 10-play drive.
Yeah, when it's 34-24 now, 3:40, expect the onside kick, and then you have to figure out what you're going to do if you can get in the end zone, because 10 points doesn't do you any good if you want to win this ball game. You want to go 8 and 3. That's 11, 24, 11, 35, 35, 34, drive home safely. But you got a defensive team that you have to worry about, and that's Kentucky State. They played just enough defense. 24 points, you say, well, I don't know about that, but yes, Kentucky State's front has, when they need it, it's played well.
I will tell you, even if this isn't a comeback win for Central State, there are a lot of real positives here. They hit some big gainers on the ground. They're 3 for 3 in 2-point conversions today. And that's huge for close games later in the year. So even if this doesn't come to pass for Central State to come back and win this game, there are so many things that Tony Carter and his crew are lining up for wins to come. And that's about as good as you can have if you don't get the win in the opener in your first game.
That's it. I think the good thing about them, they haven't had a lot of mistakes. The one mistake on the fourth down.
Onside kick, got a good hop. There's a flag before that. And Kentucky State does come up with the ball.
Yeah, probably an offsides.
Yep.
On Central State.
And so they're not able to link it together from the long drive and the touchdown and the 2-point conversion. And so they can't recover the onside kick, which they'll have to work on as they move forward too. This rivalry started in 1947, and as it turns out, this is game 67 all time.
Yeah. And they'll re-kick this thing, and it's got to work now. If you're Central State, you're banking on it. It has to work if you're going to have a chance. And this is something that I cannot do, have never been able to do. And this young lady did a heck of a job to get all the way down to the T in Kentucky.
Yeah.
She started on the far end. Yeah.
That's a Central State cheerleader that did backflips through that end zone.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, just to not be dizzy through that.
Can you do a cartwheel? I can't even do a cartwheel.
I did something that I called a surfer's flip back in the day because I couldn't kick my legs all the way over, and so at the end you pretend like you're on a surfboard.
Yeah, I think I thought too much back in those days, trying to do cartwheels when I was 200 pounds lighter. But my goodness, man, that is I'm always amazed when cheerleaders can do that kind of stuff.
Part of the fun, part of the pageantry, and bringing their campuses up here to Detroit. And they're a big part of this, too. We'll see about the onside kick. This is a fake to the right, go to the left, got a hop, and it nearly was recovered. It is. Central State got it. They just needed the penalty as a dress rehearsal. And then in the real one, just like the opens that we taped earlier today, they got it right.
51 on the recovery.
That's Ethan Ellington, linebacker from Macon, Georgia. And they're not dead and buried yet.
Yeah. So the kickers get the ball. And let's see how fast they can move. This is not over by any stretch of the imagination. And I've heard this phrase, the cheese gets a little bit more binding if, in fact, Central State can convert.
Well, you also have management of 3 timeouts and the 2-minute timeout. And so you have time to manage it. But Central State needs to be incredibly efficient. Captain Obvious here. Mm-hmm. But, as you see on the replay, this was as good of an onside as you get. He'll hit as he throws. As we're in action here, it's an incomplete pass. After that recovery of the onside kick, and there are flags down on the field here too.
Yeah, and this could probably, the last 3:28 could take 3 hours and 28 minutes. I mean, it could take a long time to finish it up.
If you've been to Ford Field, you know you start to get a little later in the afternoon when the light comes in from the southern glass exposure, as this is a north-south field. But on a sunny day, that light, it's starting to get bright here.
Defensive holding. Kentucky State, last thing they want is a defensive holding, a mistake of any kind. And wouldn't you know it, they get it. A holding call.
The last 2 games on the college front here in this building were pretty interesting for different reasons. And we're coming down to a classic here in Detroit again. Hill back to pass, and again, the receiver broke off the route, and that turns out to be a mistake, as that's an interception, and Kentucky State might have just put this game away. I don't think receiver and quarterback were on the same page, but certainly there to do it was Navy Curry Jr. from Atlanta. The DB has the takeaway.
Yes, indeed, and I mean, just as you said, quarterback and receiver were not on the same page at all. And it was very easy for the D-back to pick this off. It's like a punt. But unfortunately, the clock is working in Kentucky State's favor. So now Central State's got issues.
What a play to try to seal the game, and for a DB to have a potential ceiling INT. That's about as good as it gets, and yeah, the camera should be on him and the defensive work that Kentucky State just turned in.
Yeah, and I think if you're going to throw it, have something go wrong, you want it to be overthrown, not underthrown. In that case, it was underthrown, and that doesn't sit well.
So this is back to the ground stuff to try to churn out some time here, as Kentucky State is trying to just get this thing all the way to the finish. And they're putting in LZ to try to do it. They've used a couple of running backs today. And so 3 and 33 are in there on this series. Gain of 7 on that play. But the yardage is not as much important as the time ticking off the clock.
Yeah, the buddy of Kentucky State University is that big Ford Field clock that's on display in both end zones. I mean, it's just, and on the sides.
This really is a beautiful building too, and it's not new.
Yes.
It's been around here for about 20 years.
Yes.
And a first down for Kentucky State, and I think Elzy and Johnson are feeling it here. And again, these are rivals. It could get a little chippy.
Yes. You know, the athletic director from Kentucky State, who, you know, we were just talking in the end zone, and he is a fraternity brother of mine, and he was saying that first play of the game last year, they get into a scuffle, a pretty serious scuffle, and he also didn't like the fact that Central State has been using their Twitter fingers, and that's just the way things are these days. These young people can't stay off of his phone long enough to function in some cases. And they're gonna tweet what they think, and it's an immediate reaction. And I don't fault them, but what happens when you're losing? People remember what you did on Twitter, what you did on Instagram. What is it, X now? I mean, all of those things. You got to watch what you put in your status, especially in a rivalry game like this one.
I feel like I'm in your office at your school, as you're an assistant principal here in the Detroit area.
Oh, my goodness.
Life lessons, part of the Detroit Football Classic, and Kentucky State trying to pick up where they ended up last year. They won 3 to close out the season, one of 15 programs in the country to end on a 3-game winning streak, and they're trying to put the finishing touches here on another win over a rival as Elzy gets the carry.
And that's Grant Stepp, the athletic director of Kentucky State. Talked about several different things in the end zone, including the fact that folks would love to come to Detroit and play other sports. There's a basketball classic that's going to take place in November, and I understand Central State University is going to be a part of it. And they're going to play the games at the Wayne State University Fieldhouse. So always some good, fun stuff going on.
Yes, it is, and yes, it will. 10-point lead, Kentucky State trying to head on back to the stable, 1-0. You're watching it on the Prep.
My time to shine. He took over. He got it. Splash.
And that will put some gauze on it.
They were having a lot of fun, dimching it off to each other. The dunks were happening, just a good time.
We've seen some big plays in this ball game. A lot of them were offensive, but this could be the game sealer here for a wide open break to the ball, catch and pick. And the KSU DB with the INT and all the celebration that goes with it. Navy Curry did that there for KSU. And we talked about where they were at the start of last year. This is a far different start to a season. Remember, they were 0-5, outscored 240-56 in those 5 games. They lost to Morehouse in Chicago at the Chicago Football Classic, and that was with a field goal with 10 seconds left. They took a multiple possession loss to Albany State. That was the time where the locker room started to come together for them, and head coach Felton Huggins said that turned the corner, and boy did it as they started to roll. They won over Lane on homecoming the next week. They beat Benedict by 2. The only loss in the second half was to Tuskegee, but after that they finished with the win over Central State, then over Shorter, and they're on the long end of the scoreboard here. They're on top 34-24 and trying to put the finishing touches on this one as Elzy spins his way to the 30, and one more first down would do it.
Yeah, and I just think, first of all, let me just say this. The SIAC used to be Miles, used to be a few Georgia schools, Savannah State. Now this thing is like the SEC, where it's teams all over the place, and then the conference stretches well across the Mason-Dixon line. And I just think that's a good thing. You know, you get to see Morehouse, you get to see Tuskegee, you get to see some of those traditional SIAC schools. But to add Central State, Kentucky State has been in their SIAC for a while now. It's good to see. It's good to see Central State and Morehouse play one another.
All the social media channels, subscribe on X and TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and MySpace and YouTube. The Prep Sports on YouTube, that's the one. I don't know if I could log into my MySpace anymore. That's where I used to put out the old minor league baseball rewinds that I did when I was in Eugene and back when I was in Pocatello, Idaho, when I was at Idaho State. And somewhere those audio files and all the friends that I had on MySpace, I hope they're still doing well. But the Prep has you covered in every angle. We took some really nice pictures on the field prior to the game. And Kentucky State, they just need one more first down, and they'll do it.
We'll just keep it all on the Prep, because sometimes I pop up and I see the Persian Doughboys, I see the Detroit Cast Tech Technicians. I see all these programs that I'm looking in the paper and I can't find them. But I can look on the Prep and they got the game going.
Cast Tech not far from where we're sitting right now. They'll be on the Prep coming up.
Wow. And last night they had a big comeback, come from behind win. That was a huge win. And now we got an offensive lineman from Central State, or I'm sorry, a defensive lineman that's hurt.
Yeah, you might be end of the game cramping stuff going on, shielded from a number. Speaking of Cass Tech, they're on against Granville on the Prep coming up next Friday. And so
that'd be a big one.
This was a loaded up week for high school coverage. You know, we talk about these schools and these programs, and forgive us, we're shielded from a number here of the injured Marauder who's down. But, you know, when I was in Ohio, I wasn't able to get over just didn't happen for me to get over to see Central State's campus. But what a story that is, as the injured D lineman is pulled up to his feet. And we could tell you walking gingerly, but basically under his own power. That's Ryan Lee, D lineman from Georgia.
Oh, very, you know, it's the end of the game, and it looks like it might have been a cramp, or he's walking it off. And for Central State, I have to say that Coach Carter, and he's got a couple former pros on his staff. We talked about the attention to detail. That things will gel, things will come together. The question is, will it be sooner or later?
I would encourage you, too, if you're a fan in Southwest Ohio, if you're around Dayton or Cincinnati, get on up to campus. There's so many great spots of these campuses. There was, of course, a tragic tornado that rolled through Xenia and Wilberforce back in 1974. And there's a bell tower on Central State's campus that is still up. And the rest of the building was destroyed, but the bell tower is there. And so as a bit of a deeper point, Central State fans can look to that bell tower for resilience and resistance here, knowing that their season still has a lot of football left in it.
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't go back to the days of 1984 when I met the big brothers down at Delta and Delta Zeta chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, the greatest fraternity in the world, one of the 9, Divine 9. And I have not been able to get my retribution to see the young man in the pledge class so I could shake their hand, if you know what I mean. But shout out to all those brothers. A lot of them are here. Wilberforce, my niece graduated from there. Wilberforce University right across the street.
Yep.
Very vibrant band now. A lot of good things have happened on campus. And it's a good place. Homecoming is a great place to start. And I told my daughter, Miles College plays Virginia Union tomorrow at Canton, in Canton, Ohio, at the Hall of Fame. Who knows? I might gas up and go. Got to represent.
Regardless of who wins or loses, this is a celebration of HBCU football. But today there is a winner, and it is Kentucky State. They started off the season last year 0-5. But they won 3 in a row to close. They had 5 victories last year. Felton Huggins said they felt they had a chance this year. Picked 10th in the conference. They're looking pretty good. This is an SIAC dub, a DFC dub. And KSU gets it done, winning 34-24 over Central State in the Detroit Football Classic. We'll be back with postgame next.
Lowering the shoulder.
Swing and a miss. McKinley scores!
My time to shine. He took over. He got it. Splash! And that will put some gauze on it.
Thought they were having a lot of fun, dishing it off to each other. The dunks were happening, just a good time.
The store is set up. He's got the order, and he's off. It's a full court press. These brands are knocking it out of the park. This, my friends, is the speed we've come to expect from this team. Just look at the precision of that move. And it's out of here.
(34-24), Kentucky State with a win over Central State. They're the champions of the Detroit Football Classic. We go downstairs for the presentation of the G of the game from G Brand. Charlotte Turbrack with a very happy member of the Thoroughbred stable.
You are our G of the game, brought to you by G Brand USA. You had a 77-yard touchdown, 122 yards total, and 6 receptions. What was working for you so well in the passing game today?
Quarterbacks, they just got out there, put it in the air. They know I'm going to go get it. I pray to God every day, he come through. You know, he just tell me I just keep going to work. I just keep working. That's all. Keep working. It's just the beginning of something special. You hear me?
We spoke to Coach a few days ago, and he said that your team is really built on hard work. How do you think that has reflected on today's game?
We come in late. We didn't really have a summer, so as soon as we got there, it was straight to work. Everybody bought in, everybody on the same type of timing. We just ready to go, ready to work. We come out here, Coach let us know, like, it's time to show the world. We good on paper, but that don't get you nothing. We had to come out here and work.
You have Albany State at home coming up. What are some things that you're going to be taking from this game and really stressing for the next game?
We just got to stay consistent, keep doing what we're doing, trusting my guys. I know they're going to come out and play every week, We just going to do it. We're trying to get to the championship, trying to go win it all.
Congrats on the win. Thank you.
Thank you.
Russ, back to you.
Charlotte, thank you very much. That's Darius Cyprian, native of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He'll be back in his home state to take on Grambling coming up in a couple of weeks. And, yeah, he is the G of the game from G Brand. And that's a good-looking hat, and that's a good-looking trophy. And this is a good-looking game for sure. Cyprian, 6 catches, 122 yards, and a touchdown. This was a game that wasn't short on big plays, Eric Pate, because they were everywhere on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Kentucky State started it off with a nice pass play, nice catch in the end zone. As you see the trophy for that Detroit Football Classic. But, in between the touchdown and that field goal before the end of the half, Central State had its way with some nice running plays. So there's a bright spot there. But Kentucky State withstood everything, came out late in the third quarter, took advantage of some things, and really dominated the fourth quarter.
The last 3 college football games in this building have been pretty amazing for a bunch of different reasons. MAC championship game last year, Ohio blew out Miami. Then in the game above bowl, it was Toledo winning in 6 overtimes over Pitt. And now today, the first college game on Ford Field's field turf, a pretty good one too with so many highlights. 34-24 is the final. Kentucky State gets it done. As we take a look at some of the highlights from the ball game today, and yeah, there were a lot of them on the ground, through the air. All the bases were covered.
Yeah, Johnson played a very good game, I thought. I mean, throwing the football, nice throw here where only the receiver can catch the football at a high point. Very good job there. Central State answered with some nice runs. Good tackling all day long. I was impressed by both teams tackling here in the first game, a debut. But there's that long run for Central State to get them going.
That's Bossy. He had 105 yards today, netted 100. Young had 110.
Nice. And I just felt like Central State at that point had us thinking that they would establish themselves and maybe dominate and be physical and take over. But Kentucky State withstood the challenge.
They did, with a couple of interceptions too. Tyson Hill, 13-22 picks and a touchdown for Central State. This is the other big run that we saw. There were a couple and a lot of bright spots for both sides, no matter what.
Yeah, and I just think like here, you're looking at Young. He looked, like I said, like Eddie George on that play. But after that, I just think things just kind of bogged down. The passing game didn't click. They had receivers looking back at the quarterback and saying, hey, maybe some adjustments need to be made. And I'm sure they will make them. Santonio Holmes is your receivers coach. He should.
That's the Denham Johnson run there. And the defense for Central State had Kentucky State stymied. But then it started to change, and this was a big play to set up another big play.
Yes, and it was real simple here. It was an inside screen. The motion man went there, and the offensive linemen just did their job. And that was a nice long pass play for the touchdown.
Elzy on the catch there, so he had a 85-yard reception in addition to the fact that he had 51 yards on the ground today.
Just a very good job of execution. Let's say that. I mean, I just think that Kentucky State executed when it mattered most. And I thought the fourth down play call was kind of strange because you put a guy who doesn't normally pass the ball in a bad spot.
Yeah, that was the interception that ended up the finishing score. Elijah Henderson was right there. And then the push into the end zone for Denham Johnson. And that's how Kentucky State put the hay in the barn, and the Thoroughbreds got it done. There was a finishing score for Central State. They did recover the onside kick, but then there was a pick after that, and the game was done. Eric Pate, really enjoyed it. Thanks. Good coverage today.
Likewise. Good job.
Well, the Detroit Football Classic is back where it should be, in the D. this, the first game here since 2007. Kentucky State, the one victorious to get out of town. But HBCU football is the winner today, no doubt. And we hope that you enjoyed it on the Prep. Thanks to Charlotte Turbrack for her work on the sideline. Now for Eric Pate and our entire The Prep crew. My name's Russ Eisenstein. Thanks to Evan Westfall and Austin Sonnenberg for their great work in preparation for this game on the Prep. Yep, KSU raises the trophy. They're champions. The Thoroughbreds 34, Marauders 24. Good afternoon from Ford Field in downtown Detroit. You've been watching it on the Prep.